T-minus 5 minutes. T-minus 4 minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes.
Yeah. Every click, every move, yeah, they're watching the feed, showing ads for the things that you don't really need. They want all the data, they want your ID, but I've got some news that just won't work for me. So I encrypt the connection and cover my tracks. We get to the truth and we stick to the facts. We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak, what you wanna share is only
T-minus 1 minute.
Look, the world is exposed, yeah, the walls are thin. Everybody posting every place that they've been. Trading privacy for likes, that's a heavy cost. In the ocean of data, the person gets lost. So we flip the switch, yeah, we go underground. Moving through the silence without making a sound. Not hiding because you are doing something wrong. Just defending your rights before they are gone. The room is secure, so let the session start. Speak from the brain or speak from the heart. Tell us the story, we unlock the doors. We invite the guests,
T-minus
yeah, the
30
floor is
seconds.
yours. You can keep the mask on, keep it low key. Privacy is priceless, but opinions are free. We amplify the voices that they try to call weak. Welcome to the stream, time to hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, it's our choice.
10, 9,
Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice.
6, 5, 4,
What you
3,
wanna share is only your choice.
1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hide and Speak. We stream every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, or 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry. Welcome to the stream. We're the crew behind vp.net. Anything we say is of our own word. It does not reflect vp.net or Hide and Speak in any way. And we just want to go ahead and say that Epstein didn't kill himself. If anybody has a question at any time during the stream, go ahead and type capital Q, colon, and then ask your question there. And we can pull that up on stream. I think today we have some pretty interesting topics that affect all of us, and that raise more questions than it does answers for all of us, especially when in terms of privacy. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Shane. I'm Chris. I'm the CMO for vp.net, and I'm super excited to be here. This is a really important topic that is very timely right now. It's actually in the air at this moment.
In the air, indeed. How you doing today, Nathan?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Nathan, creative media specialist with vp.net. And yeah, the topics aren't exactly fun today, but it's something that needs to be said.
Yes. Creative indeed. And no, they're not fun. They're actually soul sucking to the core. Lovely Susie, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Ready to talk about this stuff because it's important.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And Ecstatic J, Jonathan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well today. How are you? My name is Jonathan. I'm from Bend, Oregon. I'm a privacy advocate, and I recently became a volunteer for Restore the Fourth. So I'm excited to talk about privacy today.
Wonderful. And then we're going to have open topics and everything. So I do want you to talk about that. That is very important to not just you, but all of us. And I'm very happy to support you. And Mr. Chalone, how you doing today?
Hey, what's shaking, everybody? Chris, developer in the decentralized space, privacy advocate, and happy to be here with you guys again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And today's topic, we are, it can be hit or miss with what people feel about these things, because a lot of people just aren't aware of what's actually going on, especially when it comes to, things like this. So it's the section 702. It's the crash course, or we have a little crash course prepared for us by Mr. Miller here. But let's go. I'm just going to go ahead and read a little bit of that. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, is a warrantless surveillance authority enacted in 2008 as part of the FISA Amendments Act. It authorized the United States government to compel internet service providers, email providers, and telecoms to hand over communications of non-U.S. persons located abroad without a warrant. So one of the things you guys may remember is PRISM, and then the X key score. These are all from the from this time era. And I think we got some, like one of the American icons that came from it, which was Edward Snowden, that that broke open the cage on all this stuff and let the beast out. From my perspective with all of this, it just seems like, oh my God, they did all that stuff. They ran all of the internet's traffic through Utah and were spying on us. How dare they? And then look, we're like, what? We're like 15 years later, and it's just everybody's kind of just accepted. Oh man, that's crazy that it's like that. Well, it's sad. It do be like that. And when it's your own government that does this to you and stuff, that they consider you as like, I want to say they consider you as a human being, but that is just simply not the case. What's your take on this, Mr. Miller? What's going on with all this? I know you're very knowledgeable with all this stuff, more so than most others. What's going on with this 702?
Yeah, I mean, 702 is a big bunch of BS. Essentially, it's this thing where they like to claim they can't use it to spy on Americans. They can only use it to spy on foreign people that potentially might be implicated in a crime or whatever they're interested in. But the problem is, like, people in America speak to people in other countries. So if you're talking to somebody who happens to live in another country and they look at their data, they're obviously seeing all of your communications as well. And like they actually know this and even use that at times, and will use that specifically to target an American. Like there'll be an American person that they want to look at, but they're legally not allowed to. So they figure out who do they talk to out of the country, and then we can get all that person's records that include talking to them and stuff like that. So it's a big loophole they use to get information that they're really not legally supposed to have. But the good thing is, like, the last time it was up for renewal, they promised that this time around they were going to finally put in the warrant requirement and actually require, proof that this person might be involved in a crime and actually get a judge to sign off on it. The only problem is they've been promising that every single time they've extended it for the last 18 years. So, this is the one, is what they keep claiming. But yeah, it's just a bunch of crap. Honestly, there's that, and they've just been using it to suck up information on people that they're not allowed to. It's a huge loophole, and it's been used as a loophole for a long time. And each administration that comes in, they just keep extending it and extending it. And when they're not in power, they'll speak out against it, and then they get to power and they keep extending it because now it works for them. And the kind of insane thing is, this was used to spy on Trump. Like, all the stuff he's talking about, that, these things that happened when he was trying to become the president the first time, and even while he was president, Section 702 was actually used to spy on him and all those things that he was doing, and to try to use that to impeach him and all this other stuff. So if anybody should understand how messed up it is, like, it should be him. And he has admitted that and been like, yeah, this is terrible. Even though it was used against me, it's also a really useful tool. So we want to keep using it. So it's like, even somebody who has been a victim of that themselves, when given the opportunity to control that power themselves, they're like, yeah, no, okay, that's actually pretty cool. Let's keep running with that. And that's the problem, is anytime anybody has the power to do anything about it, they have that shiny new toy and they don't want to let it go.
And that's the thing, is not even the shiny new toy. It's not even new at all. And I like that you mentioned that keyword there, loophole. Yeah, I mean, it's they can be like, oh, well, we didn't get a warrant on that person to spy on them, but we got a warrant on this Abdul guy. But we know that he interacts with all these other American people over here and stuff. But so you monitor their communications, you monitor their movements and everything that they do as they interact with the American people. So now they're spying on the American people with just, on paper that they have a warrant for this Abdul guy or whatever. I'm not sure how all this stuff works, but yeah, that's absolute bullshit that they could just spy on an American president like that. But it would cost more money, I mean, an astronomical amount of money, to shut this thing down and to remove it from all of the networks in which these things are integrated into. I mean, come on, they Prism was just the tip of the iceberg, right? From what we know versus what's actually going on behind the curtains are two different things, for one. And that's the thing, is like the amount of information that they seek after and everything. It just it puts all these new data centers out there to shame. It's just how it is. I mean, they started with things like splitting off AT&T phone lines and stuff, right? I mean, you can just go Google or check it out on Wikipedia. The AT&T had like the hidden room, and it was just strictly so that they could split off all the data passing through the AT&T networks. And the reason why this is so important is they went after what's called the major, like the tier 3 internet service providers, which is what AT&T was, or it may still be considered at this time. But they go after these big arteries to the internet, right? So all of our data and information passes through. It's like, as Al Gore says, the internet's a series of tubes. Well, it is kind of like that, fiber optic tubes, right? And they pass through these central points, not just in the United States, but in the world. And these are the ones that can split off that data, and then they can use that stuff to spy on people. As your internet traffic passes through these things, it's also splitting off in a different location, and so they're monitoring that. And that's just what we know about, right, with the technology and everything. These guys are like, it's the fucking U.S. military, it's the government, right? They probably have some space age level shit. And they say that it's for, to stop terrorism and everything. But have you guys seen a single documented case on how this stops any terrorism, other than just building some big giant shadow profiles on us? I think that's it raises more questions than it does answers for anything. And I think that trying to paint that in any way other than absolutely maniacal and absolutely evil is just more evil. Is simply how I see it. You can't just surveil the entire internet and then give God knows who access to the stuff if they can just go spy on Donald Trump. I'm not saying I'm a fan of him, but at the same time too, don't you think like if anybody that was entitled to privacy would be the president? But what I think versus how it is are vastly two different things. We had a topic on this before too, where we had a discussion on this 702 FISA. What is your guys'
from Restore the Fourth?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's and God bless those guys. They break the lid off of a ton of things.
Yeah.
What's your guys' predictions for where this is going to head to? Like, I mean, they're doing age requirements and verifications across all of our devices at the operating system level, but as we predicted before, they're doing it at the device level. So, these things are going to, our phones and everything out there are going to have it hard coded into them for us to verify our age, so that they can know for sure whose traffic belongs to who and who did what and what time they did it and how they did it. What's your guys' predictions for all of this? Because the way I'm seeing everything moving, and it's moving fast, I don't think we can catch up in time as far as like our legislation or even the technology to not to circumvent these things, but give ourselves the freedom in which we deserve. I think we just had a topic about this with our CEO. With most people just use a cell phone nowadays. They don't even use laptops. They don't even use computers. They're just on their little mobile phones, pressing buttons with their thumbs. Talking to little Terry down the street, talking to little Timmy, and they don't give two fucks as to what kind of information not only are they putting out there, but information that people are sending back to them, which goes into somebody's database somewhere. So my predictions with this.
Just click this button and agree to this 10-page terms of service that is in some crazy legalese knowledge language
That
that
you didn't
nobody could
read.
ever possibly understand. And you have just given up all of your rights as an American citizen or something, right? We just saw the White House just released this app. I know, I'm sure all of you guys have heard about, but this White House app, it's like, it has no purpose and it just basically tracks everything that you do and where you are. So it's
that is the purpose.
right, exactly. But it's like, but people didn't even understand. It's like what's going on when they download all of these apps, and I think that's what you were just saying, Shane. This is where it's going, right?
And it's not just where it's going; it's where it's remaining on that highway there. If we call this the information highway and shit, these assholes have their own speed lane. They're carpooling on a short bus is what it seems like. It truly is just a short bus from the way I see it. And that's the thing is that with this and the apps that you agree to, I'm glad you said that. Here's one thing: the NSA, I think, exists to serve itself or whatever other mediums it serves. And I'm going to give them a quick reminder of what it is that they should actually be serving. With applications that include things in the TOS, people agree to install botnets on their phones. They agree to install them on their TVs, on their computers, on their tablets. And it's just an agreement that anybody can use their device as an internet proxy, right? So we do a VPN service, a zero trust architecture the full way, so nobody can look in and spy on it. But these things, they sell your internet bandwidth, so that's AI bots, AI agents, hackers, anybody can use that to bounce through your connection. And 9 times out of 10, it comes from just installing a free app on your phone, and it's in the user agreement that, hey, we included this from our SDK, so that your device can be used as a proxy for anything. And then they use these things as massive waves of botnets, right? It's called the Internet of Things, where all of our internet connections, everything is just exposed to these people who want to use our internet connections for whatever they want. So they're using anonymity and privacy in the wrong means, because other people don't even know that they're agreeing to these things. Now, don't you think that being of this authority, that you would be able to stop this or bring awareness to all of this and be like, hey, Google, hey, Apple, can you guys remove this from your Play stores? Microsoft, can you remove this from your App Store for Windows, which is on every computer? These are the things that own our devices. We don't own them. They own them. And they just tell us what it is that we can do and how we can use them. So as a reminder to the National Security Agency out there that's been spying on us since the Snowden days, whatever means and agenda they serve, obviously they just don't care. But let this be a reminder to you that you serve the American people.
Well,
not
that
some
seems to
agenda.
be the circular loop here, right? It's like the government has pushed off the accountability onto corporations. So the corporations spy on everybody and collect all this data. And now the government just goes and makes a loophole and says, well, we can buy this data from the corporations, and now we can spy on everybody and circumvent the Constitution. And it's created.
And they are doing that. They are absolutely doing that. And we're seeing that with ICE. Like ICE is the #1 purchaser of all this data and information. And I'm sorry, but why the absolute fuck is Immigrations and Customs Enforcement buying up all the level of information that the NSA can collect on everybody and does,
Because
and
they
then they're
can.
buying up the companies like such as like those Celebrate clones. What is it? My coffee hasn't kicked in, so excuse me if I'm wrong. Was it like Paragon or so whatever it is? Pegasus. These Israeli apps that got sold to the United States. So they were originally Israeli companies and services, but then came over like, shit, we got in trouble. Let's make a U.S. company. And then they make the U.S. arm of themselves. And then they sell that to things like ICE and Homeland Security.
It's just like the same, like what happened to TikTok. Like, oh, no, TikTok's evil. It's spying on everybody. You can't have TikTok unless you let us run it too. Wait, what? Hold up. How's that? What?
And they blatantly
that's exactly what happened with these two.
That's exactly what they said. And then they put somebody like Barry
Meta's actually lobbying for the operating system level identification. Meta and OpenAI are currently lobbying for that.
And I can see why. So there's multiple different viewpoints on this stuff. The internet it's called the dead internet theory, right? Well, it's not a fucking theory. I've seen the level at which these data centers exist, and it's like thousands of cell phones all hooked to AI computers, so that they can legitimize their own traffic again through other people's internet connections. Funny how all this is connected, right? And then so they can sway viewpoints on the internet by having these AIs post comments and stuff. Well, if you have a requirement for ID, you can't weed out all of the bots, or the AIs and stuff, but you can actually track things down as to who may be infected with these proxies, or who may be not legitimate human beings having discourse online, or even just using services online and stuff. How do you know who and what you're interacting with online is actually a human being? There's just no way to authenticate that or to see that stuff unless you require like a DNA sample or something to log on the internet, which is probably where this shit show is going to head down during, in our time. But so I see all sides of the fence, like from a national security standpoint and stuff. It does, like, how do you get rid of the bots? How do you get rid of the evil, maniacal, crazy people that are going to use the technologies for evil? And they are, and they do. And so the ID approach is their approach to getting this going. And as we can see, they're moving quickly on this stuff. Like California, of all people, like the ones that are supposed to take everybody's privacy seriously, they're the ones that are pushing for this stuff to be at not just operating system level, but actual device level. And that's the thing is when it comes down to, if you guys just want to go, if you guys are listening out there, go ahead and grab your phone, hold that phone in your hand real quick, just as I'm doing. Who owns this phone? Is it you that owns this phone? Because I believe it is, but is that how it actually is? We have a question here from Nam312CY. There have been multiple energy grid attacks since 2022, and none of them were caught with methods from 702. Absolutely, I absolutely agree. I went through a blackout. I think it was like 2003, 2004, where the entire East Coast United States had a power outage, which just shut down from like Ohio side, Illinois side, all the way down to Florida and stuff, and it was down for like a week. Now this was during the Stuxnet era of just it fucked up every like government computer out there basically. And it infected every Windows XP computer that was out there and shut down things like grids, electrical grids, and they blamed it on a falling tree. So a falling tree wiped out the entire East Coast, power for over a week. This is just more. It just lines up more with them pissing on our legs and telling us raining and stuff. And I'll tell you what,
falling tree the name of a terrorist group?
Exactly right. There's no gold in this golden shower because the only one that's getting fucked out all this is the American people, as usual. But yeah, you think that would be like right up their alley, right? Like National Security Agency. Well, we got to protect the people and the infrastructure and the property, right, dudes? And no, it don't be like that, because they can just, our electrical grids can just go out just like that. And look, people die from it in Texas with that cold snap happened.
So this is actually look into that stuff too. Like so many of this, like the electrical grid and the healthcare system, this stuff is still running on like MS-DOS from the 80s, and like such simple technology that can be hacked and exploited by pretty much anyone these days. So it's it's a joke for them to say like, oh, we're trying to protect the infrastructure. It's like the infrastructure has been falling apart for decades.
Here's the unsaid
Yeah.
answer to the questions in which we seek, right? So if I go to the NSA and I'm like, hey, how about you give all of us American people access? We can even upload our ID and shit, because that's what you guys want. How about you give us all access to type in whatever we want to type in and see whatever information that you guys see? The first thing they're going to say is hell no, fuck off, is what they're going to tell us. But why would they say hell no and to fuck off is the real question. Like, why would they want us to have access to everything that they have access to, right? And it's because they're up to some shady ass shit. That's why.
Yeah, I got a question for Christopher. So like, you develop some stuff that, of course, can rub the government the wrong way potentially. And as an American citizen, they're not allowed to spy on you. But as a developer, you also, I'm sure, work with developers in other countries on a fairly regular basis and speak to them about your project and stuff like that. Like, how does that feel? Like, how does that work into your process, knowing that, like, if the government really wants to take a look at what you're doing, they just have to look at who you talk to outside of the US, and that gives them like open access to basically whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just as much to squash dissent, or the government serves to essentially just multiply its own self and its own power. It just appears like the government has we have like a new royalty in this country that seems like they just constantly regenerate amongst themselves. There's really no newcomers to the political system, and if there is, they're just as easily corrupted. But this, I really, it's like it becomes disheartening a little bit, to be honest with you, because for everybody, if you want to have like a private conversation, you have to go there. They're putting us, and we've spoke about this so many times. It's like they're putting us on par with criminals, just to interact with each other, just to get some form of privacy, or even your ideas being your own ideas. Who's to say that the government won't be able to see a new company talking about an idea, and or even a government employee, and just kind of stealing your idea in the middle of you brainstorming about it? There's way too much 1984 going on with everything lately, where show me the person and I'll figure out the crime. This is this is it. This is what this is. I mean, obviously, anybody who has the power to do something it seems like they've been kind of captured, and they're not on our side anymore. And I really don't know where this kind of goes, because our legal system doesn't even work for the people anymore. I mean, it's very disheartening to really do much of anything on the computer. On the computer, remove your internet connection. Is that even safe? Who knows? They're saying Microsoft is looking at your keystrokes. How far are we going to allow this to go? And what do we have in our arsenal of tools as citizens and free people to actually push against this? That's why these talks are really important. And streaming this is important, because almost everybody feels like this. It's hard for me to believe any dissent that we feel from the way we feel. I mean, anything that's opposing our point of view is there bots. I can't think that there's sane thinking people that are like, you know what, we need to keep this. Perhaps if they've been lied to and they think oh, this is keeping magical terrorism away. But the more you look into that, that's its own rabbit hole, where it's is there terrorism, or is there planned black swan events to make 702 look like it's necessary? So it's the world is a stage.
Yes.
And we have our parts, right? Our part is obviously to throw a monkey wrench in this and see if we can at least mitigate some of this madness, But yeah, just to get back to the question, the answer is, it's terrifying. Got to get gotta build myself a John McAfee tinfoil cage to keep everything out. But yeah, I mean that's where it seems to be going.
I would
That's
say
right.
don't go the McAfee route and stuff, like, you know, like having, like, paying people to shit on his face and everything. That's that guy got a little bad
Ooh.
shit thing. That guy got he got pretty much out there. I think the NSA should have, like, existed to, like, do shit about the John McAfees of the world and everything. I have a
But
question
he,
for you guys.
okay, good.
Go ahead, Susie. Go
I'd
ahead.
like to
He
follow up
did
on
have a
something Chris
Faraday
said first,
cage.
if you will, Shane.
Yeah, go for
Is
it.
that okay? So, Chris,
Yeah.
you asked what people could do, like what tools they have in their arsenal. And so in December, I got heavily involved in privacy advocacy locally and now at the national level. And here's something I've noticed. And I'll give you an example that happened last week. The police in Bend rolled out automated traffic enforcement here and set up a presentation where it was the chief, the deputy chief, the captain, a traffic enforcement officer, and a PR person from the police department. And that was the opportunity for people to show up and push back. And in a town of 100,000 people, there was me, my girlfriend, and one other person showed up.
Damn. That's sad.
So, and I think I'm seeing this everywhere I go, and they complain, but they're not emailing their senators and representatives. They're not calling their senators and representative staff. They're not doing anything about it except bitch. So the tool you have in your arsenal is to fucking show up. I mean,
Amen.
I love these live streams and all that, but if you don't take action, you're going to get railroaded. That's everybody.
And
Anybody
that's
listening,
just 99%
don't take
of it.
action, you're getting railroaded.
99% of it is just showing up. Yeah, no, it is railroaded because you're getting a train of bullshit, like, hammered into you. It's just absolutely maniacal that it's like this. What were you saying there, Susie? I'm sure, like with these topics and stuff, there's going to be a lot to say from everybody.
Yeah, no, there's a lot, and even when with what he said, it sprouted a whole bunch of other thoughts in my head. But the thought that I had that did spring out when you're talking about Chris was talking about the Faraday cage that John McAfee had. It's a Faraday cage, and it keeps out any signals from coming in. As if people don't, most people know that, but basically, not only did John McAfee have one, but Epstein also had his entire, was it the Fifth Avenue of apartment in Manhattan? It was also lined with lead and things to create a sort of a Faraday effect that signals can't get through or things of that nature. Now, why would we have a pioneer of privacy who knows everything about privacy, how it started, how it started being violated, like John McAfee, who did everything to protect against it. And then on the other hand, you have the man who had violated everybody's privacy and obtained everything to blackmail people, for what, Mossad or whoever the fuck. But you have these two people on each polar end, and they are the ones that have Faraday cages. They're the ones that have the actual steps. They actually spent money to create these situations, these rooms where they would not be bothered with their data, so that their info, so the shit they're up to was private. Now John McAfee was also not up to any good, apparently, but as Epstein, of all people, had lead lined walls in his apartment. And the fact is that these people cared that much about privacy because they actually are in the know of what they're doing with your info enough to have spent that much money that early on.
I mean,
And this is
executives of
why
companies
you
don't
should
even let their
care.
kids use these services that are out there. So,
That's
these
why you
guys,
should
they're obviously in the know because they're the one funding all this shit, right? And that's
They
the
spent
crazy
all the
part
money
is
on it.
maybe it was something honest, right? Maybe they were doing something honest with that, and that just just goes to tell you, no, they weren't.
He
Maybe they
was
were,
doing bad things too.
they're trying to block out those Jewish space lasers or something I keep hearing so much about. With a Faraday cage and stuff, it doesn't matter because like all it takes is oh, we know this person's going to go enter that Faraday cage, so let's hack their device. They walk into the cage, which hacks everybody else's devices inside the cage, and then eventually that person leaves the cage, and then then they have everybody's information and data just like that. That's the thing is like NSA. Go watch the movie Snowden for everybody out there. It's a really great movie, guys. Like honestly, it paints kind of like Snowden is like a bitch in the beginning, but
you'd have to leave your devices behind, honestly, in all
but
reality. That's the only way.
They could turn on people's laptops and shit and spy on them in like in hotel rooms and stuff. Like you close your laptop or like your laptop goes to sleep, but they're like, yeah, no, we're gonna go ahead and turn that back on. Like there's not a doubt in my mind that they can still do that with our devices, and maybe not all devices even, which I'm absolutely certain they can, right? But that's why these things like Pegasus exist and why ICE is buying these companies and stuff is because they can hack your devices. You're sending your phone a SMS text message, right? So you can just be all innocent, willy-nilly, and they just send you a text message that you don't even receive, and that just exploited your phone, and now they can see everything, right? So these Faraday cages, they don't do anything. But that's the thing is, even if they did do something, what are we all supposed to go live inside of a cage? Like, this is supposed to be something for freedom. Like, what is it that you serve is the question that I asked, for the NSA. And I would absolutely love to hear it from like their director or something like this. So what is it and who is it that you serve? Because it's supposed to be the American people, and that's supposed to be freedom, right? But this kind of just seems like, anybody that's aware of this or has their eyes open to this stuff, just, what are your options here? Put up with it or go live in a cage? Well, I'll tell you what, I wasn't born on God's beautiful earth here to go live inside of a fucking cage. I'm not a bird. And that's just, I don't expect anybody to have that going for them, especially with, we're fucking American, God damn it. We are yeehaw to the T, cowboy hats, gunslinging. We know where our roots are from and stuff like that. We're all Second Amendment, and then we're also all Fourth Amendment. What do you think, Jonathan? Can you tell me a little bit more about this Fourth Amendment? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's something we need, and it's something that's getting trampled on. Like, I don't know how closely people are following FISA, but 3 days ago, Congress tried to rubber stamp warrantless surveillance of Americans, and we stopped them twice. A bipartisan majority voted no on a clean extension of the bill, and they voted no on a fake reform paction with cosmetic language that changed nothing. Leadership was ultimately forced to accept a 10-day patch. So the clock now runs until April 30th. If anybody here cares about their Fourth Amendment rights, I strongly urge you to contact your senators and representatives, and more specifically, find out who their legislative director is, contact them via email, and then call their office in Washington. All this information is available online, and ask the person that answers the phone at the office in Washington to have that email flagged. You give them your name and your email address, have it flagged, and they will make sure that the legislative director sees that email. And then it doesn't even have to be your representative, because this is a countrywide thing. You can call a representative in Washington that comes from any state, and it's completely legal. So in the past week, I witnessed first the Black Caucus said they were going to support FISA as is. So these are people from Black Lives Matter that got spied on, said they were going to support warrantless spying. And then with the push from Restore the Fourth and other people, they changed their decision last minute. So, and Restore the Fourth, as far as I know, there's like 100 to 200 people in there. That's not many people that are pushing to make change. So one person can make a difference, and anybody in this audience or on this panel is that one person. So my thoughts on the Fourth Amendment are, if you want it, you got to do something about it.
And that's the thing too, is like we have to want it, right? But we already have it is the thing. It's the U.S. Constitution, right? The Fourth Amendment says we are protected against unreasonable searches and seizures and stuff, right? And that's like, when a cop comes up to you and he pulls you over and stuff, he goes, "Hey, can I search your car?" The answer to that is fuck off. No, you can't do that, because you need a warrant to search the car, or reasonable suspicion to think that somebody or something is in danger, or you're up to some illegal activities, in which that's when they bring out like a canine dog and things like this, right, to give them that reasonable suspicion. So the Fourth Amendment exists for a reason and stuff. It's so that there's just too much bad stuff that can come from somebody searching your shit, right? Somebody can use your internet connection, for God's sake, on Wi-Fi and look up pressure cooker bombs or something like that. Obviously that's fucking bad, And obviously it's going to get you put on a list and stuff like that, but maybe they want to know how they can stop something like the Boston Marathon bomber or something like this, right? But all of a sudden that puts you on a warrant list or something that now they can search your shit. But at the same time too, is this impedes on human curiosity for us to go out there and look into the things that we want to look into. Like, what if you're looking up all the information that you can find on Iran and Iraq and stuff, and now you're in some database that you're looking into this stuff that you might be your person of interest now, in the name of terrorism, right? And yeah, I do agree that the only thing that we can do is just show up. 99% of things in life is just showing up, right? And that's been the situation for me and anything that I've been involved with, that sometimes by just showing up, people needed to hear what it is that I had to say. So right place, right time, or they came up with something that when you determine what the problems are and then determine what the solutions are to things, now you have to come up with an execution plan and how you're going to spearhead these things, whatever the solutions may be, right? And that's been 99% of the case for me and stuff. And I'm usually that person that, like, oh, we can do it this way. Here, I'll go ahead and put this into motion to get this stuff done. So 99% of this stuff is just showing up. But as you said, like what, you, your girlfriend, and like one or two other people just showed up to one of those meetings. These are the things that they're counting on. Well, there's been no opposition to any of this. So that's the go ahead, right? Because there's no friction to anything that we're doing. So let's just go ahead and do that stuff. I mean, at this point, it's obvious that there is just like they don't give a single fuck about the U.S. Constitution right now. If they did, then we wouldn't be seeing American citizens being shipped off out of the land of the free to the land of a cage somewhere, right? So, and that's the thing, was like, what is it, El Salvador and stuff like that, is where you just get disappeared to. And look, even Snowden's in fucking Russia right now, right? I mean, they pardon people like the Silk Road guy that put a hit on people. My thoughts on like underground websites like the Silk Road and stuff, like my opinions on these things don't even matter. They exist, they're going to exist. And that's the thing, is like, what is it that the NSA here with this FISA 702, what are they looking to accomplish is what my biggest question is. What are they looking to accomplish is my biggest question. And can you guys think of anything that they're looking to accomplish with any of this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it gives them a free pass to look at whoever they want to without any oversight. And it's just the thing, like the sort of scam that's going on right now is, like I said, they've been just reauthorizing this thing over and over and over again. And they always just like go with the whole, well, hey, everybody else did it, so we might as well. And what they call it, it's a clean bill, which they use to make you think, oh, that means it's a good thing. But all a clean bill means is we're not doing shit. We're just going to keep doing the same dirty shit. But what's crazy is it's not really. Like, while the bill itself, they're trying to push it through without changing the bill. Before this happened, the Trump admin gutted a lot of the oversight. So even if it's the same law, there's going to be even less oversight of it. Like, already it's being abused horribly and there's barely any oversight at all, but now there's going to be like none at all. So even by passing a clean bill and changing nothing, everything will actually get infinitely worse, because now no one's even going to be watching. So they're just going to search for what they want. And, like we have a list here, like, again, this is supposed to be like, they claim it's for tracking down terrorists and international cartels and human traffickers, which sounds great. Like, none of us want those people to, just run around the world doing what they want. But they look at, like, who are the Americans that ended up getting searched, And it was Black Lives Matters protesters, journalists, United States officials, political commentators, 19,000 donators to a single congressional campaign, just randomly, So this is, I mean, that's pure political surveillance. That's literally surveilling a campaign to try to pressure people one way or the other. You know what I mean? So if this was truly a mistake and they're just accidentally looping in Americans when they're trying to look at terrorists, like, I don't think a whole lot of American journalists are regularly speaking to cartels and human traffickers. I don't think U.S. officials are regularly talking to terrorists. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think that one congressional campaign happened to have 19,000 people donated to it that all happened to speak to international criminals. Obviously not. And like I said, it's there. That's the claim they use to
There
make
were
it
8
allowed.
of them.
But what they do is they're like, this is who we want to look at in America, and then they work backwards. Like, how can we connect them to somebody foreign so we can claim it was just an accident? But like if you look at the numbers, it's clearly not an accident. Like whatever. Whether you like BLM or not, it shouldn't have accidentally lumped in tens of thousands of BLM protesters while trying to look at foreign terrorists. You know what I mean? So.
And what they say and what it is are, again, two different things. It's the current status is Section 702 is set to expire Monday, April 2nd or April 20th, 2026. But Congress passed a 10-day stopgap on Friday, April 17th, that extends the authority through April 30th, 2026. The underlying reauthorization light is still unresolved. So with this, it sounds narrow that it's for foreign targeting, right? But any American who emails, calls, or messages a foreign person is incidentally captured, and their communications are stored in a queryable database. Now, that's just the facts on what they tell us, right? It's not like that. There's more facts to this stuff. So the backdoor search problem, the core abuse is called the backdoor search. The FBI queries the 702 database using American identifiers. So this is Kash Patel himself, the one that just can't stop drinking himself away because, again, Epstein can kill himself, and the Epstein files should still be released, I think, in my opinion. I feel like the NSA will be like, they're probably that one agency that exists out there that probably has these fucking files, is just what I'm guessing. But, the FBI queries a 702 database using American identifiers, name, email, phone number without a warrant. And so this is just a documented cases of the warrantless queries. Black Lives Matter protesters, right? U.S. government officials, journalists, political commentators. So I guess now I'm on that list and everything. 19,000 donors to a single congressional campaign. Who are these 19,000 donors to this shit, right? Like if Venmo can tell me every fucking transaction and payment that, these politicals are paying their hookers and stuff for, I think I deserve to kind of see like maybe even a fraction of like who these 19,000 donors to a single congressional campaign. Because as Jonathan was telling us and stuff, you can't even get 5 fucking people, 10 fucking people to show up in his city, and it's just him and his people that are showing up to these things to do things about this. But then we have 19,000 motherfuckers that are out there just going ahead and like, hey, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and send you guys some money because I want you guys. I want us all to be spied on. In what fucking timeline does this make sense?
Yeah, we got a good comment here. The problem is that foreign national security gets wrapped up alongside domestic surveillance intentionally. FISA 702 has had efficacy for foreign surveillance, and when it hasn't, they create loopholes like Antifa, like designations. But yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, it's
Let me
just
ask
like
you guys this
a free
question.
card.
Let me ask you this question, guys. The U.S. government created the internet, right? It's blatantly obviously. You can just look in the internet history and which they did this. I'm happy that they did. The internet's fucking awesome. I love this shit. It's great. But so I'm happy that they did. But do you blame them for spying on everybody and everything? Do you actually like blame them, right?
Yes,
Yes, I do.
absolutely.
I'm glad you guys are giving me these answers, but do you absolutely blame them for like growing up on the internet and seeing the things that we've seen? I've seen some pretty wild shit going on to where I had to like do that Homer Simpson back up into the bushes shit. Like, oh shit, this is
That's your
illegal.
freedom, though.
But here's the thing:
That's
is
your
like if
freedom.
you look into it, what is it like? I think it was like LulzSec or something, Secure. Like back in the day, like they hacked the fucking CIA. Like you can't just do that shit. Like that's the one fucking like organization that you probably don't want to do that shit to, let alone any fucking organization. And then I think a lot of them got like hired or some shit to the U.S. government,
I was
right?
gonna say, didn't they just get recruited? So was it
Yeah.
really
So
that bad?
they're like, yeah, so you guys are gonna go like spend lifetime in Gitmo where we're gonna wake you up with like fire hoses and shit, and like we'll give you some books to read, but like every other page is ripped out. It's gonna be a bad time for you, dude. But you can either have that or you can come work with us. And then they probably stick these people in like the NSA and shit, like to use their skills and skill sets to stop the attacks and stuff in which they can do preemptively, so that shit like China and stuff doesn't do that. But I mean, look at this shit. It's a fucking joke. Look at China did the Salt Typhoon thing to us where they hacked every cell phone tower out there and laid code and all of our infrastructure to hack the very things that monitor us. So the things that were there to surveil and monitor us, China hacked, quote unquote China, right? How do you fucking know if there's anonymity and privacy, right? How do you know it's China and shit that did that stuff? They didn't just straight up be like, oh yeah, it was us that did that. They didn't just do that shit. So how do you know it's China and not just some random kids in some fucking basement in Bulgaria or something like that? How do you know? And that's the thing is like they hack the very things that surveil us and pretty much just spied on every U.S. American and stuff. And like AT&T is settling a giant class action lawsuit. So everybody out there that's had AT&T services from like 2015 to now, go check out where your fucking money is and get you some of that some of that AT&T money. You know what I'm saying? Stack your wallets. It's like $7,000 that you're entitled to just from this class action lawsuit, right? Because of that Salt Typhoon thing. So you might as well get paid if you're being surveilled on it. They're using your data, your likeness, and spying on you, infringing on your Fourth Amendment at the cost of how much bad is going to come from this. Like I do have an issue with people with hacking with hacking these things, and that's the biggest issue that I have is that I expect this stuff from the U.S. government. It's like their thing, right? It's like after Snowden and then nobody giving a shit after that. Kind of like was the flag in which we've seen what that American flag actually means because they're just gonna do it anyways. They're just gonna do this anyways.
Using this term, the U.S. government, right? So it's like we just assume that the government is this thing, but actually, who is it? Who are these all actually elected officials? Are these people that are, because look at what they campaign on and then what actually happens. And it's not like it's just one or two politicians. It's every single one of them. What they say in their campaign is one thing, and what actually happens is something completely different. So the question is, why do we want to have the government controlling every aspect of our lives, not just the internet and privacy, but every little aspect of everything, the infrastructure, where I get my power from, how I get my food. Like, why should I trust some person who doesn't give a shit about me, for lack of a better term, to control every aspect of my life? Like, if anything, we should be voting for governments that are smaller and smaller.
It's
We
going to
should
happen.
be.
Like it's
We
the
should be.
same thing keeps happening. Like so, there's two forms of government. There's like the rotating door government where they get voted in and get voted out on a regular basis, and then there's like the deep state of like many of them unelected officials that stay from one administration to the next. And so what happens is one of the revolving door politicians come in and they just barely have a grasp of how things work. So they have to go to the heads of all these departments and say like, what the fuck's the deal? How does this stuff work? What do we need? And sometimes they might be like, hey, I heard this Section 702 thing is bad. Should we get rid of it? Now, those people look at it, and if you're in charge of solving crimes and international crimes, and even stuff locally that you're not supposed to do, but this is useful for that, then that tool is very important to your job. Because if they're at this rate, they're solving these crimes, and all of a sudden they get rid of it, and the number drops. That guy's getting fired. Like it's your job to solve the crime. These crimes aren't getting solved. You're fired. They're not going to care that it's because now they're not violating people's privacy. They just see the number on the chart went down. Who's responsible? You're fired. So that guy, when the new administration comes in, he's like, I need this thing. If I lose this thing, I'm going to get fired, and then I can't feed my family. So he swears to the new administration, if you don't do this, terrorists are going to blow up the city, and they're going to blame you, and everybody's going to say you were the worst mayor ever, or whatever whatever this position is. So they're like, oh crap, I don't want that to happen. I want to get reelected, and so they say, well, okay, well, we got to keep it, and that's what keeps happening. Is like the people that are at the top are in this revolving door system and they barely know what's going on. So they just ask the people who are there a long time who rely on these things in order to keep their job. So the way the system is designed means that like it never gets done because you need somebody who's willing to say, I don't care if this is popular. I don't care if this means my numbers look bad next year. This is wrong. This needs to stop. Like, you need that person who's willing to put their name out there. And sadly, we live in a world where when you do that, your reputation gets destroyed, and that means your career is over. So it's a very, very difficult situation. Like, who wants to put their
Right.
neck out
It
there
feels
and
like
lose their career?
where is the adult? Where is the adult in the room to say, no, this is wrong, do it this
The-
way? Right.
No voice of
become this
reason.
The
system
adults
where
got
the government
fired.
is just right. So
The adults got
where the
fired.
government only
The
exists
Department of
to
Justice lawyers
power.
that investigate government misconduct, there used to be 36 of them, and now there's 2. So you at one point you had a team of 36 people that their job was to investigate government misconduct for things like FISA. Now there's 2 of them. They've fired all the adults in the room.
Yeah, anybody that had the voice of reason and the authority to do things, like you ask yourself, who's the good guys to all this, right? What are the 11 eyes? What are the 5 eyes? And these are things that they do cross national depends on everybody. Sure, this in our laws and stuff, we're only doing this for foreign. It's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, right? So we spy on their people, but then we have a contractual agreement for them to spy on our people, and so we just use the loopholes and stuff to have them spy on our people and just get that information from them. However which way they want to do this stuff, they're going to win either way because these are guys who make the system and make the laws and make the actual things so that they already have it pre-built in that they can abuse these things. Just like how the NSA is pushing from the internet engineering, task force, the people who, they decide like the fate of the internet, and it's fucking retarded because it's still a mailing list, by the way. But the NSA is actively pushing for them to use weak encryption. So these guys are doing everything preemptively, right? Let's just look at the last week because I'm glad you mentioned the Department of Justice there, quote unquote justice. April 12th, 2026, a new FISA court opinion revealed continuing compliance violations by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, even after the 2024 RISAA reforms. That's the 12th. April 16th, 2026, 2 days ago. This week's bombshell. The Department of Justice told Congress it's appealing a FISA court ruling that barred national security agencies from using certain tools to process Americans' data gathered under 702. So the Department of Justice, they're supposed to be handling this level of corruption, but they're the ones that are avidly pushing for it so that they can have it themselves. I mean, who is the Department of Justice? What was that, Pam Bondi or something? Or I get all these assholes mixed up. It's like the head of these things are resigning like in droves, it seems. So it's just that's the Department of Justice that's doing this. March of 2026, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court quietly renewed Section 702 program certifications for another year in a classified ruling. That means the executive branch has court authorization to keep operating the program even if the statute itself lapses. But telecom carriers are reportedly refusing to participate without explicit statutory backing, creating a practical cliff even if there's a legal one on paper. So the Department of Justice, right? This is part of what? Is that a part of the executive branch or the judicial? I can't like keep up with all this information. But that's the thing is like the executive branch can just be like, yeah, so it's judicial as I expected, right? But now this is the power and authority through the executive branch, which means you dip it with a pen and can just sign something, right? Is that what that means?
The Department of Justice is the executive branch.
Okay, and that makes sense. But
counterintuitive, but yeah.
Where's the checks and balances with this thing? Is the real question, and that's the thing.
Well,
is like
that's
the people
the
that are
problem,
supposed to be handling it are the ones advocating for it.
When you can just corrupt all of the judges, then nothing matters, right? So that's
They paid good money for that.
Point.
And whose money did they pay? Good money for that, right? It's whose money was that, by the way?
Oh, you know whose it was.
Yeah, we paid for that. So okay, is my microphone messed up, guys? I'm gonna go ahead and try and fix my sound if one of you guys want to take over.
Oh, a little bit
better now.
It's better now, but it was rough earlier.
Oh, you know what? Is this better?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was the fan blowing on the earbuds. My apologies. It's just way too humid here. They're probably
it's a really good fan.
Yeah, it's a wonderful fan. It's a tornado fan even. And that's the thing, is that they weren't just manipulating the weather here to cause as much fucking disaster as they possibly can with this cloud seeding stuff. No, I'm sorry, I'm just going to conspiracy theory stuff.
And that fan was
that's
probably made by a genius engineer who had a great idea,
genius,
created
a
better
genius,
fan, right, and sold
a
it
genius
for
engineer
which is
working
how
at
it started.
Foxconn that's 12 years old made this fan.
But now some other company will buy the rights to build that fan and make it worse for no reason and sell at a higher price.
Because fuck
And
you, that's why.
And that's the thing. It's like we can sit here and talk conspiracy theories, and how many of these conspiracy theories the American people out there that became conspiracy fucking facts, right? I still want to see lizard people for one, but that's the thing, is like we're not just talking about conspiracy theory, we're talking fucking actual facts here. But we might as well be screaming from the rooftops that lizard people are spying on us, right? So it's the things that we say, if they fall on
I
deaf
just want to
ears and
see.
stuff, was it worth saying in the first place? And my answer to that is yes, it was worth bringing awareness to, because that's our first line of defense against all of this, is to be aware of what's actually going on. And once we're aware of what's actually going on, then can we start formulating a plan to see what we can do about these things, right? I mean, Chris, do you want to talk about the data broker loophole? Because I think that's the biggest thing I've been trying to raise awareness for, especially on Soju, is that the amount of data and information that goes out there. We just saw this with the European Union, where they wanted to ban encryption. They still want to ban encryption, like with that chat control stuff. But that chat control stuff, so we have these quote unquote rules and regulations for how we do things here in the United States. California just gave its citizens the ability, I think all of us, the ability actually to have your information removed from data brokers, databases. But let's be real, like the data brokers that aren't subject to the United States, like in the European Union and everything, they don't have to play by our fucking rules. They're just going to collect as much data as they can anyways. And all these hackers out there that use these things to hack and to access our information and steal it or get it for themselves somehow, such as hospitals and everything. They just go and sell that information on the dark web for like what, pennies on the dollar. But if you have 1 million people and stuff that you're selling this information on, and it's like what, one penny and stuff, or 10 cents, they're making anywhere between 500,000 to like $1.5 million in that range just for stealing our information. So it's one of those things that this data broker stuff, it exists, it's out there. And it's not just that it exists, it's that our government is buying it, knowing that the other governments should be doing something about it, but can't.
Just want to say welcome, No Mercy. You just joined us. Welcome to Hide and Speak. How are you doing today?
Welcome to Hide and Speak, exactly. Laws like the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, which is from 1986, prohibit phone companies and ISPs from selling customer data to the government. But the law doesn't cover data brokers because they barely existed in 1986. How it works in practice: your weather app, fitness tracker, dating app, or game sells your location data to a data broker. The broker sells it to DHS, ICE, FBI, IRS, DOD, whoever. Well, name a three-letter agency. No warrant was ever required for this, right? So we're talking FISA 702, which is, they need warrants for this stuff, but it's been extended until the 30th because they just can't make up their goddamn minds as to what needs to happen, right? So they're on the fence about everything, but they already have this solidified and nailed in that they can still access and get this information of practicing legality is I think the word, because it's not illegal, right? So they're operating on the confines of what's right and wrong. And if they can't get it legally, they're just going to get it through a bullshit means, which is through the data brokers that sell it to them, right, for pennies on the dollar. And they can afford $1 to $1.5 million, right? So DHS has been purchasing cell phone location data since at least 2017 that we know of. In February 2026, the DHS signed a $1 billion contract with Palantir for AI-powered data analytics across CBP, ICE, and other components. And this is the same Palantir, everybody, who just paid $0 in federal taxes just from 2025 alone. So not only are we paying for all of this shit, they're getting away and making billions off of us. Who's at the helm of Palantir? It's like I heard he knows a lot about the Antichrist. So if anybody's doing some Antichrist level shit, I think, it might be these guys, everybody. I'm just saying, like, that's just my opinion. It might be these guys, right? So they're violating our Fourth Amendment right. And then they have a duty to the American people to, not do us wrong, right? But they're not just doing us wrong. They're handing us shit on a silver platter, and then we're stuck holding the bag and stuck holding the bill in which we got to put our signature on. That I have to take time out of my day to go show up at a building somewhere and tell them, hey, this is bullshit. What the hell are you guys doing? So that's just one aspect of it, right? $0 federal taxes, Palantir, Peter Thiel. In February 2000, that was just in February 2026, the DHS signed a $1 billion contract with Palantir. February 2026, a couple months ago. ICE uses a tool called Weblock to track mobile phones that have visited specific locations, right? That's just one thing that they use, one tool in their arsenal. Current FBI Director Crash Patel confirmed under oath that the FBI buys commercially available information. So some commercially available information out there, and I think this is the stuff that Mr. Chilone and even all of us, we fight in information security to keep out of the hands of bad people. So current FBI Director Patel confirmed under oath that the FBI buys commercially available information. So this isn't conspiracy, this is fact. So I wonder if any of the information that they bought, I wonder if any of that information contains the fact that Epstein didn't kill himself, for one. And just to keep moving on from this, the fix that keeps dying, the Fourth Amendment is not for sale act. So let me say this again. The Fourth Amendment is not for sale act. Passed the House 219 to 199 in April of 2024. Senate never voted on it before the last Congress ended. It will require a warrant before the government can purchase data it would otherwise need a warrant to obtain. So that's the line. That's where we're at, right? That's where everything's tiptoeing. And actually, they're not even tiptoeing on these lines. They're just blatantly playing hopscotch with this shit, right? They're playing hopscotch, right? And if they're trampling on our rights, I would say they're tigering us right now, right? They're just hopping up and down like woohoo. They might as well be jumping up and down on our rights with a fucking pogo stick and chanting weird things. That's how I see it. That's just my opinion. So this week, let's just move on to this week. About 50 House Democrats signed an April 14th letter demanding the data broker loophole be closed as part of the 702 reauthorization. So 50 House Democrats signed on an April 14th letter demanding the data broker loophole be closed. The Senate Intel Chair, Tom Cotton, wants a quote-unquote clean extension with zero reforms. How about fuck off? How about that? 130 plus civil society groups and 17 state attorney generals, including California's Rob Bonta, have publicly demanded closure of the loophole. The money line. You shouldn't lose your Fourth Amendment rights because the government decided to swipe a credit card instead of getting a warrant, right? So here's your fucking warrant. It's got Amex and fucking MasterCard and everything stamped all over it. So the timeline that we're looking for with this current legal landscape on all of this, and I'd like to hear more from you guys on this timeline because I'll just go ahead and break it to you guys. It's now. It's now. Monday, April 20th, original 702 was the sunset date, which has now been superseded. Friday, April 17th, the House and Senate passed a 10-day stopgap, now expiring April 30th, right? So where do things stand? The Trump administration is pushing for a quote-unquote clean, there's that word clean again, 18-month extension with no reforms. That gives them an extra 18 months to do as they please, as they are now. House Rules Committee approved a closed rule that blocked a vote on adding a warrant requirement amendment. A warrant requirement amendment led by Representative Andy Biggs, which is a Republican of Arizona, failed on the House floor Tuesday, Tuesday, echoing the 2024 cycle when a nearly identical amendment died on a 212 to 212 tie. So it was tied, but then it died. Tied and died. I like that. Speaker Johnson tried to force a quote-unquote clean reauthorization vote and failed when privacy-focused Republicans held out, producing the 10-day patch instead, right? So they're just dragging their feet on this because, they know who's swiping the card. Trump hosted GOP holdouts at the White House Tuesday night, pressing for a quote-unquote clean bill. So the word clean comes into play here because there's nothing clean about it. They're just doing us all dirty. So let's see who is avidly saying what about this, right? Who is actually advocating for these things is the real question. Who's got our backs with this is the real question that I have for all of us.
We got somebody who's joined us.
Raskin
No
appeared
Mercy.
to.
No Mercy. How you doing? What do you think about this whole Section 702 thing?
Hey, hello. Sorry, I don't really talk to people a lot. I'm a little neurodivergent. I kind of like hop all over the place, so it's really easy for me to have like I have a whole bunch of information in my head, and it's easy for me to drop little bits. And the sustained talking is difficult. I have a toolkit that I've built around FISA 702, and I'd have to like refer to it really quick because it's not in my memory. So give me a minute.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
Looks
Thanks
like
for
we
having
might
me.
have had Carissa.
No
jump
worries.
in.
Thanks for joining. Take your time. We're just happy that you're here, and it's important that you have a voice. That's the biggest thing. Not just have a voice, but have whatever it is that you want to offer to all this stuff. And don't worry about things like being neurodivergent and stuff. Everybody is amazing in their own way, and we just call that shit neurospicy around here. We got that jazz and that razzle dazzle. So
Yeah, that's the best way.
so just come on
Carissa,
here and
hey.
razzle dazzle in any way in which you see fit. So spitting out
Carissa
all
joined
those
us.
facts there. With me spitting out all those facts there, I think we've kind of caught everybody up before I went on my long tirade rant with all of that, to kind of just give us the gist of what's actually going on with all this stuff, right? So right now it's on the fence. The thing is, all this needs to be dealt with now. It's a now thing, right? We have until the 30th until we even come to a conclusion with like half of what's going on.
Well, and I don't
I watched
understand, where is the voter base for this? Who is actually supporting these things? Like, are you telling me that the majority of Americans really want to be spied on and like agree with this type of stuff and want to vote for that? That none of that makes any sense to me whatsoever, because nobody that I talk to or know, even on either side of the political spectrum, like agree to any of these types of things. So it doesn't understand how. I don't understand personally, I guess I should say, that how are these things becoming so popular and just agreed upon? Is just the state of the society that everybody is just enjoying being a sheep and they want to continue being sheep and they're just too meek. And as Jonathan was saying earlier, it's like we need people to show up at your local courtrooms and your local events and the meetings and town halls and say something, because right now it feels like nobody is saying anything and all the wrong things are happening.
So my
Absolutely.
U.S. Representative Janelle Bynum, the last time she was in Bend was a month and a half ago, and she stated that, I forget what the topic was, but somebody asked, "Why didn't you vote for this?" And she said, "Oh, I only got about 2,000 emails on that, and I need 5,000." So
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
we have
you
to
don't
get
have to
the
leave
out of
your
it?
house.
Number.
You don't have to leave your house, but if you've got 4 million people, population of a state, are 5,000 of those people, do they care enough about it to send an email? And that's all it takes to sway some of these people, because if they don't get the 5,000 emails, they've got this close, tight-knit circle of friends and lobbyists in DC, and that's the only place they get their information. So if you don't give them another perspective, they've only got the one, and they're going to vote based on what they know. And if you keep in mind, like just in Oregon, for the legislative short session, which was 35 days, they pushed through 300 bills. So say each of those bills is 20 pages. There's 600 pages of documents that they have to read and reread with amendments and reread. Nobody can keep up on that shit. So
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say on what was it, Wednesday night with the FISA thing, the First Amendment that was presented that was a so-called warrant requirement, but the actual text of the bill didn't say anything about warrant requirement. It said probable cause, which was already the law, or already as it stands. They also wanted to push the extension to 5 years instead of 18 months. And they presented that to the people in the middle of the night, like 15 minutes before they were supposed to debate it. And it got to a point where Jamie Raskin, in debating, was up there reading it. He's like, well, what's it say about warrants? Because I don't fucking know, because you guys just gave me this. And the people that made it don't even know. And he's reading what the requirements are. And the debate happened that way, where they're actually reading the text as they get it put in their hands. There's no thought. So
there is no thought, right? It might as well be AI just passing the shit for us all, anyways. Because these guys are just running emotions, just doing the autonomous autopilot zombie shit that they are as politicians. They don't even read this stuff. They don't give a fuck. They don't care.
Also operate off of
deal
groups that are echo chambers with their own little information diets that are all in the same thing. So they don't actually get any exposure to someone's going to lose their job if they contradict what the running thing is. So there's really no like diversity of thought.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And there's many, and especially in the FANG place, you can't just go have a voice about this stuff and start talking about these things, because then your employer comes to you and say, hey, you can't be talking about this thing. It puts us in a bad light. There's been so many, people that I've spoken to over the years and stuff. That it's like, they asked me that question. It's like, well, yeah, but what can I do about it? If I speak out about it, I risk my livelihood, right? Just like Snowden risked his livelihood, being, an IT contractor and everything. That's where this stands. I do agree that echo chamber of how all this stuff is. It just maximizes that gray area when we're all kind of looking for the color to the bigger picture here. All in all, that's the thing, is like we need more people and more people with influence, but to have our backs. But then we also need the corporations, right? The corporations are considered people too. Where are the corporations out there that have our backs as far as privacy to the degree of all of this, right? Where are they? Like, can you guys think of very many corporations out there that take this stuff very seriously? Because I feel like this is the type of stuff
this is such a great point too, Shane, because it's like, back when I was growing up, you would have what was called brand loyalty, or you would have, this company provided a product to me that I enjoy, it's consistent, and I enjoy it frequently, right? So I now have loyalty to this brand, and I will trust something that they will produce for me. But now we don't have any of that. It's all of the corporations are just bought up by other corporations, and it's all just a maximizing of the profit, right? So it's now, instead of just I'm trying to produce a chair that everybody loves to sit in, and it feels great when you sit in it, and I will sell it to you at a fair price, and I will make a profit. But now it has to be, I can't just be a chair company. I have to be a chair company that also owns a soda company and a TV industry, and I'm some giant conglomerate product that is controlled by 27 different entities. And it doesn't work for human beings. It works for dollars and cents on the stock market, but it doesn't work for actual me in my life, or for the people that I love and enjoy and being around with.
That brand loyalty was actually what allowed them to kind of like do the trends and pipeline us into marketing that then led into buying up more and more companies and just expecting that we're going to go along with that company because of brand loyalty as they run it into the ground to get the maximum profits off of us. It's like, this is the diversity thing again.
Yeah, and that seems to be what keeps happening, right? You see these great companies come out. Like, I would just use this as an example. Like, Naked was a great fruit juice that came out, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And then it got bought by PepsiCo, and now it's just nonsense. It's completely divergent from what it was originally created as. And you see this happen in all industries now, not just food, not just your life. It's in everything, where if something is good, it gets bought out by a larger corporation, and then it is destroyed.
Really quickly before it gets lost, since we're taking a break, I want to run back to an earlier question that was asked about who's actually on our side, and I think that's the wrong question. There are definitely representatives and senators who are very much in line with the things we're talking about, but they already have their minds decided. I think what's important actually are the ones who are wavering, ones who voted yes on RISA in 2024. Anyone who we can turn over to actually be solidly on our side is really where pressure and focus should be.
For
It
sure.
really
That's a
should
great
be.
point.
And that's the thing is when we look at representatives and who's representing this on either side, do we really truly feel that we're being represented at all? Because I feel like if I should be able to represent myself on topics such as these, and I don't need representation from the people who are speaking for us. How about they just simply start with asking us first, right? And that's the one thing is who represents this, and how can we have our voices heard to represent this, how we feel, right? Well, like what our take is actually on this. And that's the thing is like I'm seeing what bad can come out of all of this, and the bad is already there. It already exists, right? For the data brokers and information that's being bought up. But where's the good in all of this is the question. And how are any of these people representing anything good?
Well,
Like,
so this
how is
goes
anything good?
both ways, though. This goes both ways. If they're representing us and they're taking that burden of work to do all that, and they're faced with 30-something bills in a day, it's kind of like what Jonathan's talking about, where no one's actually meeting them along the line. If this is all just a big popularity contest, and no one's telling them why they're popular or not, then they're gonna do popular on the basis of capital.
Yep, that's just how it is. It is on the basis of capital. Let's go ahead and ponder these thoughts. We're gonna grab some more coffee real quick, and we'll come right back. We want to hear from everybody, and thank you so much, No Mercy, for showing up. Stick with us, and we'll discuss these topics that I feel that is all in our minds. We'll see everybody in 3 minutes.
T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes.
Yeah. Every click, every move, yeah, they're watching the feed, showing ads for the things that you don't really need. They want all the data, they want your ID, but I've got some news that just won't work for me. So I encrypt the connection and cover my tracks. We get to the truth and we stick to the facts. We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak, what you wanna share is
T-minus 1 minute.
Look, the world is exposed, yeah, the walls are thin. Everybody posting every place that they've been. Trading privacy for likes, that's a heavy cost. In the ocean of data, the person gets lost. So we flip the switch, yeah, we go underground. Moving through the silence without making a sound. Not hiding because you are doing something wrong. Just defending your rights before they are gone. The room is secure, so let the session start. Speak from the brain or speak from the heart. Tell us your story, we unlock the doors. We invite the guests, and
T-minus
yeah, the
30
floor is
seconds.
yours. You can keep the mask on, keep it low key. Privacy is priceless, but opinions are free. We amplify the voices that they try to call weak. Welcome to the stream, time to hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital
Three,
share is only your choice.
1.
Hide and speak.
Welcome back, everybody. Just want to give a huge shout out to vp.net. Thank you so much for giving us a voice. Just a reminder for everybody out there that this is not just a job to us. We know we do this of our own free time because we absolutely believe in all of this. This is one of those things that if you want to support us, go ahead and sign up for vp.net and then hit that bell and subscribe to us on YouTube and through our other means and social media. So welcome back. We're talking about the FISA 702. This it's one of those big things because it opens up so many topics or so many paths of discussion. The surveillance data being 1984 out there is like it brings new meaning when it's 2026. And the question is who's representing us and do we feel represented, feel like we're being represented in any fashion, all of this, if like most people, one, don't even know what's going on, two, don't know how to get involved to even show up in the first place. And we face other obstacles with even getting these people to show up at all, because if you push for these things, you risk things like your job, you risk things like when you have a voice on these things and stuff, that it can affect you both personally and professionally. So these are things that the people that are taking time out of their day, which are the elected representatives for us, they're the ones that make these decisions. But my take on this stuff is I just absolutely feel like I'm not being represented with this stuff. There's too much bad stuff that can come from collecting all this data and information, and then there's too much bad that comes from it from when they sell this data and information on us to the very people that are supposed to be protecting us, right? So God knows who has access to any and all information that's out there, but they're using it in the guise of security, right? And so I just kind of silly that in the guise of security they violate everybody else's security, and that is just how I feel about this. Is that I feel violated, and I'm sure many others out there do as well.
I feel
So
violated too, right? And
if anybody else wants to join our panel here and discuss with me and Nathan on why we feel violated about this, if there's anybody out there that should give me some reassurance as to why I shouldn't feel violated about any of this, especially when it comes to representation, feel free to join. Or if you just want to discuss like what we're talking about, feel free to join. So thank you No Mercy for joining us. Thank you, Chris, Mr. Chalone. Thank you, Nathan, and lovely Susie for being here on this topic, because if it comes to representation, I feel like we have to represent ourselves, and that starts with having a voice. So thank you guys so much.
Hey, Carissa, she was hiding there
Yes,
behind the
sir.
banner, but she's here too.
Oh, hey, Carissa, welcome here. I'm glad you're here. We are.
Well, and I feel like that's why Ecstatic J or Jonathan was our first hero of the week, right? Because he represents what we all should be trying to do, to speak up in our local communities, because that's really where these things get started from, and how we can make a difference as an individual is by being active in your local community. So just showing up to a town hall or going in and putting in your vote, these things can actually make a difference. And it's important to empower everyone and to make people feel like they have that power as an individual, to know that you going and doing something can make a difference.
It can make a difference, and that is the truth behind it. And it just starts as simple as showing up to one of these meetings and just going, "Hey, I don't feel represented. What do I do about this stuff?" And then I think we can all kind of work together from there.
Cameras spying outside my front yard, like it's the things that they are pushing it's gone so far across the line that, yeah, sure, it's not fun to go and show up at a town hall and be public and be present as a person and put yourself out there, but it's important for all of us.
It is important, and that's the thing is, other than Epstein didn't kill himself, especially with these things like that surveil on us, like the like block cameras and stuff. There's a lot that goes into these things, especially on their side. A lot that goes into these things, like especially a couple ounces of gold and silver and other kind of metals that go into these cameras. So the things that we pay for and then we get stuck with the bill from are to violate ourselves. Is kind of what it seems like. And it do be like that is the thing. And I'm trying to think of any which way like we can find a solution, and that solution simply just is privacy, right? If I want to interact with anybody or anything in this world, that should be between me and the person I'm creating that memory with, right? So we look at things like the cypherpunk movement. They created these tools such as HTTPS, such as VPNs, such as secure data links between us and the other devices in which we use on the daily, right? And they did that specifically because they knew what was going to come of all of this, and especially in regards to our privacy, right? Just go ahead and have a gander at what the cypherpunk movement actually is about, and check out Mr. Chaloni here and his projects. It really is. It's a simple process to be onboarded to all of this, and the awareness is where it starts. Not just where it starts, but it will lead you down to a path in with which how all of this technology works. And for people out there that enjoy technology, such as how I do, like I love tinkering with everything, you can actually see that not only can these tools be created and these solutions become available out there, it's that they already exist. And I'm not just talking about vp.net, right? I'm not talking about zero trust architecture, these things. I'm talking about open source software, these tools that allow us to have ownership over the devices in which they own for us. So these topics, when I say a lot goes into it, and I was just joking about the metals and stuff and all that, a lot goes into this stuff, and what really goes into this stuff is the very software that we use. Like the way that they're spying on us is because our devices connect to the internet. They make phone calls, they receive text messages, and that's the thing, is if it just goes through all these different pipes, these are the people who have access to those pipes to see what data and information is going along the highway. So we look at flock cameras, they're spying actual cars that drive along the highway, and then this NSA 702, they spy on the actual internet highway of, that's just how everything, connects. When you swipe a credit card there at the store, pay for something, it goes to the internet. It tells, various different things. Hey, this person just paid for this, what it was. And this is information that they highly see valuable. So when we're not being represented, when we don't feel like we're being represented, and people aren't able to show up or just don't show up for any reason at all, then they have to, what decisions can our representatives make outside of just going and looking towards the route of, finding capital and all of
Well,
this.
and that seems to be what happens, right? It's this self-fulfilling prophecy where I'm now an elected official, so I have to maintain my power and control. So instead of now being an elected official that represents the citizenry, or me, myself, like all they do is try to maintain the power and the control that they've been elected into. So it's just degenerating into this cycle of something where nothing can be done and nothing can be improved, and everything is just about control and power, for lack of a better
Speaking of
word.
control and power, like with free speech in the future, and I asked you guys, where is all this leading to? Right now on the internet, what do you guys feel is the most censored topic on the internet right now that nobody's talking about? I think there's a lot that's being censored that nobody's talking about. That's my answer to the question, is like, is there one topic out there that's being censored?
Not the first. I don't really use the internet normally in the same way that I think everyone else does. And no influencers, no social media, all that. But like no one's really talking about like Sudan or like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or like any sort of like there have been Christian designations by this administration, like saying that Christians are under attack.
Africa.
Yeah, to go send in like Eric Prince style paramilitaries into Africa, and
Holy crap.
there's whole like things going on with the Wagner group that's separated from Russia, and how that's all interacting with each other. I haven't even had the time to like really delve into that, but there's like, you don't ever hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the memory holding of important events is just insane right now.
I think this actually can connect back to what we're talking about, because like we're talking about FISA right here. And I think like what we were supposed to pick up as we were coming back from the break was, one second, so I have to look at the chat real quick. It was, is there any version where farmers actually win? And I think there's a lot of doomerism that prevents, like, this is how this all works, is it makes us feel like we can't actually participate, like we're not going to be heard, like we're not important. And it prevents people from doing the small, simple things. And so, FISA, there is a requirement that will extend FISA to March 2027, regardless of whether this bill sunsets now, because the way they have it built out is that it doesn't go to the sunset, it goes to the actual expiration date. So you can look at that and you can feel really disappointed, like, okay, we're still going to be shut down, like we're still going to be surveilled, and this is going to be a problem all the way up to March 2027. Or you can see that this is an opportunity for us to introduce new acts. The Hated One talked about the Surveillance Act in his new video today. There are like, I'm probably getting the acronyms wrong, like FANFSA is like a really good amendment basically to the current one going. And you know, if you can't make wins here, then you're not going to have the palette to reach into what's going on in Africa or what's going on in Israel, or you know, how that connects to anything else. You have to you have to build to it.
I agree. I'm glad you said all that stuff too, and it's good to absolutely hear that stuff. And I'm glad you were able to tell me those things. I agree. Like, I just don't have time to look into all these things as well. I get like the bare gist of it. You know, Susie keeps me informed with a lot of the things that aren't tech, and that's why, you know, it leads to some really great conversations. The way, you know, what she tells me about. Like, there's things that that's
even just saying that, Shane, like what you just said, it's like that's how I think everybody feels, right? It's like it's an overwhelming amount of information that is being processed for a human being. You know, like how much is going on in the news. And that's why it's so easy for them to memory hole all these things and just to ignore, like, oh, this crazy thing just happened. Okay, but 7 other crazy things just happened today too, right? So now it's like, how are you expected as a human being to keep up with all of this? And like,
and then they just throw random shit into the mix to make it seem like these issues don't matter. Like, you know, just, like randomly just drop shit like, oh, or maybe there's alien hybrid breeding programs and everything. What the hell are you saying?
Right.
So then it's like,
oh, well, only
all of a sudden,
13
like,
people died at
well,
that nightclub, but
we gotta
27
spy
people
on people.
died at this other nightclub.
Well, then they're like, well, if there's aliens among, well, we got to spy. We got to figure out where the aliens are. You know what I mean? Like, or these, like, when you hear these insane claims, like one after another, well, Iran's going to have a nuke now. Oh, God, World War III has started. It's just, it's always this, it's sensationalist bullshit that never pans out to be true.
Exactly.
But it's so overwhelming that it's like, who the hell's talking about privacy? That's stupid, dude. There's nukes and aliens here, man. Like,
and it often
so
gets connected with something that is valid, so that they can demonize people or minimize people who do see like the reality of that piece and aren't connecting to the rest of the thing. This is totally off subject, but like Katie Johnson was a great example of that. She was represented by one of Jerry Springer's like associates or something, who was also connected to Epstein's circles, and it was, you know, like whether her story is true or not, you know, like there was never any possibility where when the future lawyers talked to her, they believed her. They saw a real situation, and that never was able to be explored. Who knows what happened to her or where she is now, and that could have blown everything up, and instead they just demonized her. It's narrative character assassination.
Oh yeah, for sure. If they don't like what you have to say, like they ignore the claims that you're making and just go right after the person. You know, like we had the People's Voice on here. He's been under attack like literally for years. You know, and he had his mother writing articles for the website, and like they even started attacking her. And like it's ruthless. Like when they can't discredit what you're saying, then they just try to discredit the person entirely, so that you assume that anything that they say is wrong.
It's an endless cycle, right? Where it's like, I am the biggest victim because the most people died or something because of what has happened to me. So it's like this cycle where it's like, well, your strife doesn't matter because there is a bigger strife somewhere else. So to look over there, look at this larger strife that is has caused more problems. So now we can distract from and, you know, just not and ignore things that are really happening in people's lives.
And that raises a question too. And we have this as a thing here. Is it still possible to have an unpopular opinion online without getting dogpiled? Right. Even our CEO, he's fought since I've known him for the raise the awareness of the Pizzagate stuff and Podesta. and that kind of got swept under the rug, but now it's coming to light with all this stuff. These unpopular opinions, these conspiracy theories ended up being conspiracy facts. But speaking of the memory holding and stuff, like we're talking like about the NSA 702 stuff, the NSA, keeping all the world's information. So we're being memory hold while the actual facts and truth are being saved in data centers in places, and then all of our actual private information is just being sold to the highest bidders and everything. So can we even have unpopular opinions anymore without being dogpiled and attacked? And I myself have been dogpiled and attacked and stuff. And then anytime I try to bring up a topic or try to bring things of things that I'm interested in on various different means, I get attacked as well. So let alone people like Sean from the People's Voice, they will go after your character and stuff. So we can raise the light on this stuff, but unless you're Jesus Christ himself walking around in perfection, they're going to attack your character rather than attack
the doctor.
Valid point.
Oh, sorry, I got confused.
Oh, it's a doctor.
We need better science.
Are you referring to that image in which Trump made himself a doctor? I mean Jesus or whatever it was, and he was healing Epstein on that picture. It's at this point and stuff. If we're going to attack character and stuff, why are these people the ones that are representing us and asking for?
We've had this happen to us, like vp.net. Like we've posted articles about competitors that were doing like fucked up stuff. Like, we posted articles about, Proton VPN and NordVPN and Surfshark posts that they made themselves in their own subreddit, admitting that they sometimes monitor VPN traffic in real time, which hello, that's the exact thing they say they don't do. Like they're admitting themselves that they do that. So we say that to people, and immediately we get accused by their fanboys oh, this is just a competitor trying to smear them. It doesn't change they're the ones that said it. We're not making this shit up. You can look at the post yourself.
And they say things
says we look at your shit, then that means they look at your shit. It doesn't matter who told you that. It's still true, but that's the thing. Yeah. They know they can't discredit the fact because it is true. So instead they discredit the people who are saying it and try to question their motive,
And that's the thing too, is when it comes to competitors, we don't have competitors. We're the only zero trust architecture out there. And yeah, no, these people, they blow smoke up our asses telling us that they don't log, but no, they just look at the data streams in real time and stuff and see it with their own eyeballs. So yeah, it is kind of being logged by their brains when they look at the what's happening to tie it back to people and stuff. And that's the thing is, our fight against surveillance and fight for privacy. There's countries out there, that even No Mercy mentioned, I don't know anything about these other countries or the topics that are going on. I don't even have the time to look into these things, and let alone when I do look into these things, it'll put me in a negative headspace, which affects me, on all levels, physically, mentally, and spiritually, right? It puts you in a bad place when you look at how much bad is going on. And the surveillance is happening around the world globally and stuff. They don't give a fuck about their citizens. They don't fight for things like freedom. They just straight up will disable your shit, like Iran, right? So when we're looking at things that how we're fighting about for the things we believe in, privacy, we have those bad actors out there that are the giants in this space, mostly owned by Israel. Is the crazy thing, as Israeli companies or Israeli prominent figures. But then they just lie to everybody so that they can get their money and get their trust, saying that, hey, we don't log, but we admit to looking at things in real time so that we can stop abuse and all this stuff. Well, so we're fighting
legal mumbo jumbo stuff, right? It's all this double speak things where it's I say one thing, but it doesn't actually mean what I say. You actually have to read the terms of service, and all of that stuff is just, it's anti-human. And it's not, it's never going to be mainstream where everybody understands all of what's going on with all of the in-tune things that they put into the terms of service and the legal stuff. And it's just, I think that's what's really at the root and the core of a lot of the problems in society, is this weird language that people use in legality to try to trick people into giving away their humanity.
And that's the thing too, is what does this push us all to do? Live our lives and put up with it, or go live in a Faraday cage somewhere Like a
Right.
fucking nut
Well,
job.
I mean, you want to go back to that? We were talking about Susie was talking about the Faraday cage stuff. You want to look when they banned lead paint in houses? It's the same year that
Interesting.
FISA came out,
Is
1971.
it?
So,
Oh wow, yeah, I know it's 71. Yeah, I know those
you want
documents.
to trigger your conspiracy theory hats and put on some tinfoil.
Well, let me
Hey,
get
well,
my
they saved us
tinfoil.
from
Hold
getting
on.
lead in our systems, right? I'm sure me and Susie have lead in our
And
systems.
I'm not trying to say eat lead either, but I'm
Holy
just
cow,
saying,
anyway.
we just
there's
exchanged that lead paint
pattern
for fucking
recognition.
microplastics.
Yeah, it's plastic, not lead. That's what we
Yeah.
got.
I'll tell you
You know
what,
they
the world
found,
might
they
as
found microplastics at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
yeah,
Oh, for
yeah.
real?
I've
Lovely.
seen like plastic bags down
Plastic
there
that's
even.
heavier than water. Yeah.
See, it's
Yeah,
nice to
that's
see
nuts.
that we're really embracing diversity and equal opportunity and making sure that every creature, no matter where on Earth, is subjected to our poisons.
And
We
you
are
remember
all
when
that's
George
really
Carlin said the Earth
together.
spawned humans because it just wanted plastic, right? And it was one of his skits that are out there. Like that's the whole meaning of life. Is not just the
Rest
answer
his
42.
soul.
It's because the powers that are just wanted fucking plastic. And you know what? The world might as well be plastic, not just because of the microplastics that are in our brains and balls and all this. It might as well be plastic because it's so goddamn fake, as Nathan said. It's the
Remember?
double speak.
Do you remember when they used to have those plastic commercials to promote plastics? Look at all
Yeah,
the things that we do for people. Those commercials suddenly went away when people started going, "Oh, look, all these plastics are getting in our system.
right.
It's really bad for you." Oh shit.
Gaslighting 101
Microplastic
right there.
applied directly to forehead.
Or when we realized that recycling wasn't actually what they made it out to be to us.
Oh god, it's the worst.
It's so
Most
bad.
Now
recycling
we,
means put it on a boat, send it to China so they can burn it.
yeah.
That's
Now
Yeah.
we
not
have a
good.
lake. We have a trash pile the size of Texas in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I
That's
mean,
horrible.
we could start there.
And then
Yeah,
we're,
and I think
we're
my
creating,
parents-
we're creating microplastic eating germs that we don't. I mean, that's a whole nother, it's a whole nother realm.
I'm sure
What's
that'll
the thing
create
like
Yeah,
more
where
these-
with
problems.
the whole green movement got like co-opted by this whole bullshit carbon credit scam, that they're running that makes, billions of dollars for rich assholes that just
For
pollute the world
Tesla.
anyway. And
What's-
instead, like everyone's ignoring the actual real major environmental impacts that are happening all over the place because they're all just obsessed over this one little thing.
Yeah. So
I have a
microplastic.
unique perspective on recycling.
Oh, do it.
When I was a kid, my parents had they started the second recycling newsprint recycling company in the Portland metro area. Like they had drop boxes at
That's
every
cool.
7-Eleven that had Jerry Lewis's face on it and were part of the Muscular Dystrophy Association, like handing $10,000 checks on TV, that kind of thing. And the Garbage Haulers Association came in, and my mom used to say, they were like the mafia with cement
Mhm.
overshoes, and kicked them out and kicked everybody out and took over the like a hostile takeover of the recycling
Feels like
business
that.
back
That's
then.
wild.
And so my parents were like, okay, we're still going to recycle. They moved to the coast from Portland and opened an antique store, the highest form of recycling.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So like, what happened basically, like recycling does work. Certain things, like you can recycle glass very effectively. You can recycle paper very effectively. There's certain things that work well, but plastic, as we know, was taking over for everything. And then people started realizing, hey, wait, maybe this is a bad idea. And then the studies started coming out saying, hey, you know what? This stuff's going to take 300 trillion years to friggin' biodegrade. And that's when people started pushing back on plastic. So suddenly, that's when the big recycling push came, and it was literally pushed by the plastic industry, who just came like, no, don't worry about it. We figured out what to do. We can just reuse the stuff over and over forever again. And people are like, oh, that works with glass and paper, so cool. That I get it. I'm on board now. And that was the whole point, was just to get everybody to stop putting the pressure on the plastic industry. So they invented this whole fake recycling world, and then people didn't like the idea of having to separate it. So like, oh, don't even worry. We'll just do single stream. Just throw it all in a bin, because they know it doesn't matter, because 99% of it's not actually getting recycled anyway. So, and now like most of the recycling programs in this country exist as like a vanity metric for like the people who live there, just so they could feel better about themselves recycling. When a lot of them, like they'll go through and there's maybe like one or two types of plastic that are worth the money to actually recycle, and then everything else for the most part, a lot of it's literally getting shipped on giant boats, burning a ton of gas, diesel to go all the way to China and go and literally get burned and turned into electricity while putting toxic black smoke into the environment. So that's like, it would actually be better if it was all just sitting somewhere and rotting in a pile for 30 million years.
What's crazy is I saw, and I looked at this, and then I saw videos of this actually happening. Like in China, to determine which plastic belongs in which pile, they will hold a piece of plastic up, burn it with a lighter, and then sniff it, and then whatever the smell smells like, they will put it in a pile based on what plastic that is and where it should go and stuff like that. I myself have not ever sniffed burning plastic. I mean, for what should be obvious fucking reasons, but then you look at them and stuff, and they look like this lady that was doing it. She looked like the hills have eyes type shit. She looks like what you would expect from somebody sniffing plastic.
They're like, she's 17. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, she looks like she's 143
guy on YouTube.
Which one?
He's got a product called Plastiline, where he's figured out how to use solar power to turn plastic into a fuel that can run cars.
Oh, wow.
Hey, might as well. I mean, plastic's made from oil, right?
And he did not.
And I keep watching his channel. I subscribed just to see how long it takes him to get taken out. Because in my opinion, it's inevitable.
Dude,
it is inevitable, right? Just like that.
How that goes.
Sorry, go ahead, Sue.
Well, it's like,
I know it's crazy how that goes, and honestly, the fact that we're having a lot of just people who have these really bad things happening to them once they come up with these energy solutions is a little scary. But
like those, what is it, like 12 to 15 missing scientists, and that's just recently. That's
another one.
I think it's up to 11 now. Yeah.
And where do you think that starts from? Where do you think they get that scientific research, especially that Shaloni mentioned? They just steal people's ideas and stuff where they have access to do so, but they could just look in on these people's scientific research and then make them disappear and stuff. And I think they would just access an NSA thing, right, to see what's going on.
Well, since the 1800s, the world has been run by oil. Like all world power, all wars have been fought. Everything. It's all about oil, and even like the whole reason that our dollar is worth anything at this point is because it's connected to oil. So if people find a good, reliable way to get rid of oil, it changes the entire global geopolitical world. Like U.S., our dollar crashes overnight. The dollar loses 95% of its value if it's no longer a petrodollar. So the biggest world power and the biggest military falls apart, and everybody wants to eat our lunch. It would literally change the entire world if we found a replacement for oil.
It would also
just invade Venezuela. You'll be fine.
It would change the choke points. The trading choke points right now are really specific to natural gas production and the petro industry. And if you could shift that, it would drastically change the economics of the world, not just because of the dollar, but because of where we're sourcing from and how we're shipping it, and
absolutely
export and import controls.
Which we've seen in the last few weeks more than regularly.
I have a question for you guys.
Oh, good.
I'm want to go back to the data broker loophole thing. What do you think would happen if a GoFundMe was created or something along that lines to raise funds to purchase and then publish the data of politicians? Like if I did something like that, would I be sued into oblivion, or are there protections?
No, you know what happened?
There's laws.
You wouldn't be sued into oblivion.
They would immediately use Section 702, and they would hit GoFundMe and be like, give us the information for every single person that donated or looked at this thing.
You would get designated. You would get FTO designation.
The real thing that you should do,
politicians to think seriously about the data broker loophole, though, is people purchase their own data.
Yeah, and but then we're being double trolled because they're selling the data on us. They're making money, and then we have to purchase it ourselves, and they're making double the money off of us on our likeness and shit. The real solution to that, I think, is, I mean, yeah, it started like a GoFundMe too, but then like donate all that money to, privacy awareness foundations, things like this, or hell, donate it to anti-human trafficking and stuff, like because I've seen him kill himself, all that. Where this information and data should be actually protecting the human beings of the world. I don't think anything would happen, honestly. I think that like Susie says, they've hedged their bets. They don't give a fuck. They already know that they've won all this. I would say just get that information, just fucking steal it back, and just post it on fucking GitHub and stuff. Saying, hey, like, we got this from this source, and then here's all the politicians' data, because that it's publicly available, right? There's no means for them to do anything.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up.
Signed off on.
I'm glad you brought up the loophole there, because what surprised me when I was looking into that, like, I assumed, like, obviously Google Maps, you know what I mean? They know where you go and stuff like that. Obviously, like email, things like that. Like, there's the ones that are obvious and you expect, but the ones that I didn't expect that are actually some of the ones that are used like a lot were things like a weather app, which really, really stuck out to me, because like you just don't expect that. But the fact is, think of every weather app. You open it up and it knows where you are because it looks at your GPS. And the fact of the matter is, it's storing that information and it's tracking it on a regular basis, because most of them have an option where you can have it follow you around. So if you drive to another city, it'll show you the weather there automatically. And so that has become one of the best sources for them as far as tracking your location information,
And
because everybody has a weather app. And
little app though too, right? Because it's like you see all of the military things that get leaked out because they're using a workout app, right? You wouldn't
workout apps. Yep.
Right. You think it's a workout app or it's a weather app or it's whatever. It's only going to just show me the weather, right? But no, what it's really doing is tracking every single thing that you do, and your GPS data, when you do it, why you do it. And that's this. I mean, it's beyond dystopian, right?
It's not even just dystopian; it's fucking insulting. It truly is that this is the type of stuff that gets away with, and the people that should be raising awareness about this is literally the fucking app stores that say, hey, whoa, some of the shit you guys are installing, do this. Just not saying we can ban this just yet, we'll get fucked up legally, but this is what they're doing, right? We don't advocate for this, but there's we got our hands tied. Just be honest, right? There's a question on here. What's a mainstream opinion about privacy or tech that you think is dead wrong? I think, and I'll just give my take on this, and I want your guys' answers on some of these questions. Is what's a mainstream opinion about privacy or tech that you think is dead wrong? I think when people like Larry Ellison say that AI and all the data and information, because obviously they're buying it so they can train the AIs, right? Saying that that maybe human beings would be more in line and on their best behavior, knowing that the AI is monitoring and dealing with these things. I think the mainstream opinion about privacy or tech that you think is dead wrong. I think that some people out there agree to these things. They agree to it by accepting the terms of service. So whether or not they're conscious of doing this, they're still agreeing to these things. But I feel like it shouldn't be about power or control or keeping us in line. I honestly feel it should be about compassion and understanding, and not exploiting or abusing people, that just honestly just don't know that they're giving away their privacy, and they should be informing them. So what's a mainstream opinion of privacy or tech that you think is dead wrong? How about basically all of it? Like, go read the privacy policies, like
Right.
Meta,
Yeah, I mean, you're spot
all of
on
them.
right there, Shane. It's all of it, right? It's like, who ever decided that my data and everything that I do should be owned by anyone else but myself, right? Like, whatever I do should be my personal data. And to just give it away freely to a free weather app or a free block game where I play Tetris or whatever, like none of this makes any sense when you look at it from an individual perspective. So I just don't understand where we crossed this line, whereas we're just freely giving away everything from ourselves to any corporation that wants to own it for free. Give me a free game, that's great. I'll play your free game. I'll play chess, or I'll play whatever stupid Tetris thing. But it doesn't make any sense that now you get to track where I live and go to and where I order food from and all of these habits that I have that try to then sell me things. That's crazy. Like that's like an insane person. You're trying to control my life now. So and I don't know anybody that agrees to these types of things on any political spectrum. So I don't know how we got across that or how they pushed it in, but it's definitely frustrating.
Some of the apps where you create content or art on, if you read the terms of service of those apps, your creation, the corporation that owns the app, can use the text or art or whatever you create, which should be your intellectual property, but you sign their terms of service and it becomes something that they can use for advertising or whatever in perpetuity. Like they're getting us everywhere you look.
Indeed, and I like that from No Mercies. Same for social media and AI use. I have another question for you guys with all this, and thank you so much for your answers on this. In 20 years, what will we look back and say, I can't believe that was legal? For me to answer this and stuff, it's right now, you can use other people's likeness, like a Black Mirror episode. You can create a video or a picture with them in it, and there's no repercussions from that stuff. And then you could even make these things and sell them, right? You can make money off this stuff, and anybody can do that stuff. And it's not that I can't believe it was legal. I can't believe that there's not some kind of agreement or from the good people like that are in charge in the world. Like, is that supposed to be like the NSA? Like they're supposed to like protect us from things? Like, wouldn't that level of power, having the world's information, wouldn't that be the good thing to do, is to protect us from the wicked, to protect us from the evil that's out there? Isn't that what like the security agency should be doing? And especially when they're focused on foreign, terrorists and shit like that.
So that's the thing. That the NSA's job is not to protect us. That's a common misconception. The NSA's job is to provide the United States government with decisive intelligence advantage by collecting and analyzing foreign electronic signals and protecting national security systems. They're not there to protect the citizens. They're 100%, their job is always just to protect the government itself. So that's a mistake right there, because sometimes our government is evil. So that means then our NSA is also evil because they're acting on the interest of our government, not on the people.
Exactly, right. And that's the thing, is like, in 20 years, what will we look back on and say, I can't believe that was legal? Do you guys think there's anything going on right now that you're like, holy shit, why was that legal?
Right. Well, that's the whole thing, is the government is like a virus and it grows on itself and it needs to continue to keep growing, right? So now if I go and I try to play Wordle, right? Everybody knows what Wordle is on the New York Times. And I have to sign in, and so now I have to give them my app and my phone GPS information, my email, my name, my phone number, all of this personal information to play a game online, right? So I'm just trying to guess 7 letters or 5 letters, whatever it is, right? So if you're a creator of an app, how do you even get the balls to say, I want your location information, I want everything, and I'm going to control your bank account, I'm going to take your personal social security number or any personal information about you just to play a game? It doesn't make any sense anymore.
Well, because that's the thing. A lot of apps are built.
That's where cookies were. That's how cookies started. This has been we've allowed this the whole time. So,
like businesses now,
cookies that track your battery level.
Like the apps are developed a lot of times by a company who sits there and they already have the business model. They're like, okay, we've got this great partnership with this advertising firm. This is the information they need in order for it to be worth the most money to us. How do we build an app that will get people to give us this information? So, and that's honestly how a lot of apps are built. They're not built with saying, how do we build a great app that people like? And then they suddenly decide, that they're going to add the stuff later. a lot of them are literally designed with the intention of collecting a certain type of data, and then they reverse engineer and say, how can we make a data that seems like it would make sense for us to collect that data so that people will agree to it?
Or
I mean,
have
that's the thing, like,
company buy,
Pokemon Go model, right?
or have a
Yeah,
bigger
exactly.
company buy them out. That's the end goal of a lot of tech right now. Is like startups
Yeah.
are, we're trying to collect as much data, and then when we can do an IPO, then we're going to switch to profitizing off customer data.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very common model. But yeah, like Nathan was just saying, Pokemon Go, like that, everybody thought, oh, this is such a creative, unique game. And then, we just find out recently that the whole reason the game even existed was just to get people to collect a ton of data to train their AI system. So, I mean, that was a massively creative concept for a game. And the reason for that is because it wasn't even built to be a game. It was, how do we get people to walk around and point their phone at shit all day long for us for free? And that's what they figured out.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is what we think is fun and great, is not so fun and great. And I think it was what the Saudis that just bought Niantic not too long ago. So now that's the foreign intelligence collecting foreign intelligence on all of us. So I think like maybe like the NSA should probably be like, hey, whoa, hey, that's going on. We got to like stop this app and shit like that because the Saudis are fucking spying on us. But it's not like that. Like I said, they're there to protect government systems and everything, like information for the other arms of government.
We have Trump doing, what was it, the Raskin 1 second, I gotta remember the name. Trump showed private documents, US documents that only 6 other people in the world had access to. Where's that leak? 1 second, I'm digging for it. Control fine.
Trump does a lot of things, so it's hard to keep up with,
Yeah, no, right. But so we were directly sharing with the Saudis, and the Saudis, pushed us into this war in Iran. So that's like, that's no surprise. Raskin disclosure. It was leaked by Bondi, I think, when she was trying to. It was generated during Jack Smith's special counsel investigation, handling Trump's classified documents. Yeah. Anyhow, I'll shut up.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it shouldn't like the NSA like protect against things like Trump taking like National Archive stuff and putting it in his fucking bathroom. Like I feel like that should be like one of those things that like somebody should have did something about that before it happened, or like what is all this? What's the good that comes from all this? Because I'm only seeing bad stuff that happens and nothing's done about it. Especially when it comes to like things like human trafficking or the Epstein files and shit. Like, why the fuck are we even arguing about them releasing documents and stuff? And what is it, Todd?
And that's such a great point too, right? Like, so they have all of these technologies now that they're using with flock cameras and this and that, and it's like, you're telling me the guy that is on Instagram showing off that he has some illegal Glock firearm with 20 magazines in it and extra bullets and this and that and automatic firearms, it's like you can't actually use this technology to arrest criminals, but you only use it to just harass people and bring all of this fear into society.
Who defines what a criminal is? That's the thing. We do a 2-party system where we just toss people back and forth, and they get a point across the aisle and determine who a criminal is during their short-term period, and none of that is involves like what the average citizen has to deal with.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to say too. It's like in my real life, and like like I don't have to deal with any of these types of things. This is crazy. What I wanted to have happen is to have my kids have a good educational system. I want to have job opportunity and a good economy, right? And all of these things we all agree on. There's nobody that wants to have a poor economy. There's nobody that wants to have shitty schools. Like it doesn't make any sense why we can't agree and just work for the best of society rather than working for the best of me or just one person.
I'd argue that and say that there are a lot of people whose current positions in society are held up specifically by these structures, and that their status and power leaves. And it's not simply just the elite, you know, it's like the creation of the middle class. And one second. So I'll be right back.
Yeah, well, and like you were just talking about, you know, the creation of the middle class, I think, is one of the most important things of modern society, right? Because that's where we all want to be. I don't want to be an elite. I don't want to control anybody else or tell them what to do or have $1 billion. I mean, sure, having $1 billion would be great, but that's not necessarily my goal. It's just to have everyone around me that I love be in good status, right? So they are fed, they have prosperity, and they have opportunity.
This isn't far adjacent from, you know, a world that or an empire that built itself off of a specific type of transatlantic slavery, where, you know, we have social hierarchies, and there are people who, you know, are more than happy to have the poor people and the homeless people and everything just because it reinforces structure. I'm sorry, I had my partner came in, so it got me interrupted earlier. I think this is also fascinating because this is actually like really adjacent to what the topic today was about, which is, you know, FISA. Like FISA and FISC all came about from attempts to do intelligence reforms because, you know, there's COINTELPRO, MK Ultra, Operation Chaos, Shamrock, Minaret, all these things that led to, you know, Congress trying to get the intelligence agencies to, you know, respond to Congress, really, because they were I mean, everything from, you know, Cambodia and Laos and everything on, like, we all had our hands in all of that, and they were acting with massive dark budgets that were beyond anyone's like knowledge or ability to control. That we keep talking in this about like these alphabet agencies should be on our behalf as the American people, but there's just this long history of them not. And the bill up right now is historically the response to us trying to do that. And meanwhile, it's been co-opted, and campaign finance reform has led into all these things, and corporate personhood, and all this has led up to us. It's not what it was supposed to be. And so
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's the loop that we're stuck in, right? We are stuck in this loop where the corporations just pay the politicians, and then the politicians do what the corporations want. And it doesn't work out for anybody other than themselves.
Exactly. And that if I got to ask a question to the NSA directly, it would be two questions. Who do you serve? And then the second question being,
Yep.
you know, what is the balance between us in which I have to meet so that we have freedom and that we have our rights? You know, and do I get a choice in any of them? And it leads back to that question: who do you serve? And I'm not here to be in a class, right? I'm already in a class, and I'm not here to serve the Epstein class, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And that's the thing is it really is about the Epstein class. Like, who do you serve? That question goes along with, you know, if the depths of that is understood, is, you know, it's the American people in which you need to serve, but the American people are demanding things like the Epstein files be released because it pertains to human trafficking, and not just human trafficking. These people actually practice witchcraft, and, like, you know, they, you know, serve demons and shit. Like, it's like straight up, like, it's like that. You know, and so these conspiracies that we may have and stuff like that, they can be rectified by having the facts and the data and information that's supposed to protect not just the government, but the government exists to serve the people. That's the whole point of it, is that we can have law and order. And that's the thing, that question that was asked about who determines who the criminal is. I mean, the answer is there. Those who create the law also create crime, and that's the thing is,
Right.
you know, morality and law are two different things, right? We know, don't rape people, don't traffic people, don't kill people, right? Whether it's 10 commandments or just, you know, looking within and having, you know, the human spirit, that's the good in all of this, right? And
It's always
so
the
those,
never-ending story of who watches the watchman, right? And
And
At the
then
end
who
of the
watches
day,
them,
what you really
right?
need it is a strong community. People that care about each other. You should care about your neighbor. You should care about your friends and your loved ones or your spouse or whatever, whoever it could be, and that's local to you, or your next door neighbor that grows the cucumbers for you that you eat and make pickles for this year. Like, it's the issue is dividing people into these labels and groups to be against each other, when in reality we are all wanting to be united with each other and have 99% of the same viewpoints. And it's these such small things that try to divide us that I think is just nonsense. We
I'd
give
like
up
to-
all of our power to the government or to the NSA or to all these things, three-letter agencies, whatever you want to call it, to further this dividement. And it's not gonna work out. Even for
When
that.
the government becomes immoral and the politicians become criminals, what is it going to take for the people to rise up and abolish the government as it currently stands?
become
That's
already
not a
are.
question I won't answer. That's
The problem is the
that's not a
majority of
question I won't
Americans
answer.
think that posting memes on X is how you rise up against your government. So
Yeah,
population
that seems to
really
be the only way to
confused.
go about it, right? That's that's thing is like those who create the laws for us are the ones that are supposed to represent us, right? And they don't. They create the laws for us, and then so they invent the crime, but they themselves are criminals themselves. I mean, look, fucking what Congress, everybody, like even AOC has mentioned this, that everybody does like insider training or trading
Predictive
things
markets.
like investing in war companies, and then 6 months later we're like all going to war and shit like that. So they're not acting in our best interest. It's only proven that they act in their best interest. And who do they serve, right? They serve the corporations. They serve, I don't know what the fuck it is they serve, because I just honestly don't give a fuck at this point. Um, one of the big questions here is when we look at the future, because that's the future in which we're fighting for, so that we can live that American dream and raise children in a good economy into a world in which we can prepare them for to become adults, which is to have things like discernment, have things like the ability to critically think for themselves, and to know that there is wicked and absolute evil shit going on out there on levels in which we are not prepared for, even as we become gurus in a sense of like privacy and what's actually happening in the world. That's the American dream, is to have that for our families, but we don't have these things, right? So if we're fighting for this future in which we can all coexist and not be divided, and we're not, right? We're all one peoples in this world, right? We're all out here. I think as I forgot the comedian's name, Parr or something like that. We're all out here eating a shit sandwich, right? And that's just how it is, right? There's good in all this though, but for the future, who wins in the future? Privacy enthusiasts or the big tech giants? And this one doesn't need an answer, because it'll lead us down a long topic here. But in my opinion, just keeping it short and simple. What was it? Swimple. Privacy enthusiasts, I think,
Miss
are
Wimple,
going to be keeping it swimple. I think
Short,
privacy
sweet,
and
and simple.
short, sweet, and simple, right? Or shortles, short and simple. Privacy enthusiasts be like
Do be
that.
like that.
Be like that. So outside of having a fucking hamster ball to roll around in with tinted windows and fucking stickers on it and stuff like that, which I'm sure I can download from a DLC somewhere, who wins in the future? Privacy enthusiasts or the big tech giants? Well, I got a middle finger to all the big tech giants out
They
there,
always win.
especially you, Zucky Boy, and to the NSA that obviously they work with Facebook and Meta and all that shit, and AT&T and all that stuff. They're integrating everything. I think the privacy enthusiasts win because they were the ones that sought out true privacy and value it at such a level because of their awareness of what's actually happening in the world, that they can enjoy their lives, right? So that they can go out into their gardens.
okay, so the one thing I'll just say about this, just imagine the smell. You are 23 meters below ground somewhere in Hawaii in Mark Zuckerberg's cage or nuclear bunker, whatever you
Oh
want to
yeah, the
call it.
land that he stole. Yeah, that
This
one.
cage. I'm like, damn, where are you going with this?
Just imagine your life in there. There's no light, there's no good food. You're eating
Sucks.
vaccines. Like, I don't know. I don't call that winning.
Here's a
whatever you.
plastic bottle to eat. Show your microplastics. And that's the thing is that it's things are being written for us, and nobody's even asked us one for our consent or what we even think about that stuff. So when it comes down to privacy enthusiasts or the big tech giants, I think people who seek out privacy are the ones that end up victorious. Not because they're not being spied on and stuff. That's just shit just always going to happen. This is all there is to it. But they actually value things in such a way that they can enjoy the moments in which they have in their lives, in which they can have this privacy, this invisible Faraday cage away from all the bullshit, right? And then let other people be aware that, hey, don't feed the machine, right? Because it's who do these people serve? And it ain't us, I'll tell you that. Like, look, you can see that clear as day with the Epstein stuff, with
Well, that's what
no
I was
good
trying to
coming
say.
from
Like,
this
it doesn't
surveillance
even make
system.
any sense, right? It's like your goal, and you think that you're winning by living underground in some bunker, eating 20-year-old food. Like, that's your winning. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Winning should be prospering, all of us living on this beautiful earth with these trees and the blue skies and the sun looking out upon us. Like, that's winning.
It is winning, and that's the thing too. Is like if it came down to some hippie, arguing with a GI Joe, I'm sure they would have two different versions of what winning would be, right? Especially when it comes to things like Iran and protecting America and all this stuff. So whatever it may be, with this the FISA stuff and the 702, which is just the justification for collecting more and more information on us to utilize for obviously AI systems, in which things like Larry Ellison say, hey, this should be better for control and keeping people in line. It's not going to do that. I'm telling you, like, criminals are going to go commit crimes, and people that want to rob somebody are going to go rob somebody. And the things that are actually happening with actual the elites doing things, nobody's doing anything about that. And I don't think that there is anybody that can do anything about that, because obviously when it comes to things like the NSA and these FISA warrants, these are the people that could do something about that. But whatever it is that's going on, it's a choice being made not to do that, not to protect the future of us. So
Yeah, I mean, that's the who watches the watchman argument, right? It's when you have too much power, then who can control you? So it's an endless cycle of, once you get that power, then you just want to maintain.
Yeah, that's the thing too. So with things that are going on behind the scenes, there's layers to it. It's that's the thing is being aware of these things. I think is the most prominent and most important thing that we can have us as we develop this layer between us and the rest of the world's bullshit. Because that's just how I see it. Left, right. That's the thing is it's politics. It comes down to it. When it comes to politics and stuff, we try to stay bipartisan or not, like we there is no left and right for us, right? It's all about what's right and wrong. And I think what's right for the American people and stuff it's being decided, and it's going to be decided by like in the next 10, 12 days, as far as what they can get away with, that they're just already getting away with as it is, just through data brokers and loopholes and whatever it is. But I say we have a little bit of fun with this. I come from an internet where things were fun, right? I think in the more earlier days from now, I think there was a lot of cool and amazing things on the internet that gave us all fun things to do. But go ahead and like if you guys want to tag along with this one, finish this sentence for me. The internet peaked in the year. What is that? What year did the internet peak in? Susie, do you have
2000.
Probably 2000-ish, 2001.
That's
Whenever
what I was thinking.
Vsauce had doing online now,
Before the
guys.
Patriot Act happened and Citizens United. When did that form? I forget now. But Patriot Act, they ruined it.
I'm going to say it hasn't peaked yet, because if I believe that it was all downhill from here, I don't think I could care as much as I need to keep fighting.
Oh,
Correct.
nice, Chris.
Good point.
That's the optimism right there. I love that.
Just having these conversations, I think going back to something, I can't remember the question was, but I think just having these conversations is the way to combat the big tech from winning, is the fact that where do we start? Well, we got to just talk about it first and get people to talk about it. Other people, I'm glad we have no mercy here. We should have, we should try to make more people, invited, say, let you guys know you are invited to come and speak your voice, and, let's talk about it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is like I may not always be informed, and I know I'm right on generally a lot of what I'm speaking about, but a lot of it I don't really get like the not just the opportunity to speak about these things, but a lot of it can be said that I shouldn't be speaking on these things at all, right? I don't know anything about national security.
So
I don't know anything about like let alone like half the government, what it's up to. But I don't understand what it is that they may be protecting us from behind the scenes. Because when it comes to these things, right, we have to fight for the things that we can see so that we can earn the wisdom within to fight the things that we can't see, right? And that can be taken how it is and on many different levels. But to if anybody wants to come on here, whoever it may be, and I don't want to be right is the thing. Like when I look into these things and I create a mental forecast of how things will be by seeing how things are, if I'm wrong on how things are, I would like to be enlightened on how things, are, because I see things one way, but behind the things is what's being told to us and what's actually happening are two different things, right? And that's the thing is I don't think there's anybody that can represent that because it's not a well-known fact, but it's affecting each and every one of us is how I see it. So people hopping on here, if you have your viewpoints and topics that you'd like to speak about, if you think any of us are wrong in any way, like we would love to hear from you and see these perspectives, because the way I see it is, I'm asking the constituents of the world these questions, but where are the other people that are asking, the people of the world these questions? And that's the thing is, I think people should very much value having a voice. But as Jonathan was saying, unless you get like 5,000 people to sign some fucking clipboard, the representatives won't even look at it in the first place. So you have to have social media influencers and things to get these signatures and stuff. You have to go join the very problem to find the solutions to the problem, and that just doesn't make sense to me at all. But I think the internet peaked in like the year 2005. I think that's when esports became its thing, and it was like branching off into becoming like an actual sport. So people found fun ways to compete.
So you saying like 2005, like that's Facebook, right? Like 2004 is like Facebook, right? So that was a huge change. I think like MySpace was one thing, and we had forums, before like the early 2000s.
And that all ended in 2005,
before Tom sold out.
Right. So once it became that these websites became corporations and companies, and that whole .com bubble, I think was really the end to me. That's like where I would signify the change, because it was just like the internet became something fun that you did, and it was free, or you paid a couple dollars to AOL online or whatever. And then it became something where it was like you have to pay for every website you log into, or they're stealing your data, or they have your information. And there was a big change, definitely somewhere in that, I would say 1999 to 2004 area.
If everybody else wants to vote on what topics Hide and Speak should cover next, stingrays, cell site simulators. I mean, anybody can intercept the communications in which are already being intercepted by other agencies. So it's these technologies exist to further violate things. The Cloud Act, the CLOUD, fusion centers, national security letters. If anybody wants to vote and discuss what or determine what it is that we should cover next and discuss, it's all up to you. This thing is have a voice.
Even as an American,
enter the number of whichever one you want. Enter that number in the YouTube chat, and that will accept your vote or whatever, and add it to there, and we'll see what comes up.
Absolutely. I want to talk about fusion centers and stuff. Nuclear energy, boys and girls. We can heat up water really fucking fast and turn it to steam, and that we can make energy from. Like you would figure like, fucking nuclear fusion and all this stuff like would be like, yeah, man, that's like the future. And it's like, we just heat up water,
Hey,
Stop
so
it.
really quickly, I had someone come to the door, but one topic that I really wanted to bring up today, and I hope someone will look up and talk about is Greater North America and the detention centers in Latin and South America that have been popping up, and that directly connects to like the ones we know from El Salvador. There is. You can actually like just search Greater North America now because it's actually been an official thing. I believe Hegsgith talked about it. And it's just like an extension of, hold on a second here, control find North America. Greater North America is now a named official Trump administrative initiative announced by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on the eve of Trump's Iran address. The zone stretches from Ecuador to Greenland and encompasses the Caribbean, all of Central America, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, and Guyana. It's worth looking into. It's a doctrine that explicitly states that all nations north of the equator are no longer part of the global south and will fall within the zone of direct U.S. defense interests. It's the explicit discursive mood to sever these nations from the BRICS adjacent multipolar framework. Regardless of whether that is great or not, it connects to the Donroe Doctrine and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, I have to go because I have someone at the door, but I will be listening and we'll hop back on if I can.
Hey,
thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks. No mercy.
All right, everybody. I think it's time to wrap up. I can only talk about the NSA and privacy so much, but I think it's worth looking into, guys. And I think the topics that you all are interested in as well. I would like to look into things if they matter to you, they matter to me. That's just how you value your community and value the things in which you believe in and work for every day. Like I said, this isn't a job to us. Like, this is how we live. We wake up and this is what we're about every day, all day. And I look into all aspects of everything so that it can fit the aspects of technology, innovation, and creating new and upcoming tools and platforms where people can have privacy, but also have a voice and share the things that are like not so much discussed, or maybe that they're afraid to discuss because of things like cancel culture and being dogpiled on. So these are things that are definitely in our minds, and that Nathan and Susie and Chris fight for every day. They look into these things and have to keep a good, positive, absolute, knowledgeable outlook on things, and it's hard. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a job; it's a lifestyle. It's how we live. We live so that we can enjoy our families and enjoy the comforts of our homes and enjoy the comforts of the things that we believe in, because we grew up with these things. We grew up with the internet, right? The internet peaked in the year anything it shouldn't have peaked at all, because this is the thing that doesn't just give us digital freedom, but offers us access to information and outlets in which we can find a place of belonging and a sense of, a sense of joy and fun, right? That's why I say 2005 was like a peak, because esports and stuff was just taking off, and then everything peaked because it just became walled gardens like Facebook, and Tom sold out to MySpace. But then again, 500 million is 500 million. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's some good dough.
Hey, we don't.
But at the same
True that.
But at the same time, though, Tom came around. He taught us all HTML. He didn't ask for much, and he was our friend on MySpace. And then he just got the money and dipped out. And now he's doing photography and all that stuff, and then trying to enjoy his life. And I think that I don't blame him. But at the same time, I'm looking at you, Mark Zucky boy, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, seriously? Like, this is it? Like, this is like your golden new world order is fucking Facebook and Larry Ellison, and come on. Like, seriously, like, if we're gonna be in some like some dystopian stuff like that, at least it can be cool. You know what I'm saying? Not some fucking crazy asshole and shit.
On one last note, it is kind of hilarious that the metaverse finally got shut down.
After $95 million invested.
And they
Let's
got
strap
sued.
these devices to our heads.
They just got
goodness.
fined too for making little kids depressed for being on social media, things like that.
Yep, it is. And they don't give a fuck about the future of our people and stuff. And then I think Facebook just got a fine for something like $30 million or some shit. These people extract so much money and so much from our actual soul, because it's like they're just exploiting us with ads. to get us to buy more shit or to get us to believe different shit and further divide us all. I feel like those fines and stuff should fit the actual like scale of like who they are, right? If they're making like $30 billion like every quarter and stuff like that, like you give them a fine of $30 million for doing wrong, they're not going to give a fuck. This is the cost of doing business and stuff. You know what I'm saying it's a write-off.
If I'm the product, how come I didn't get paid for all this shit?
Well, and then take this for how it is. Palantir paid $0 in taxes in the year 2025. Zero.
That's
I don't
rude
know
as
how
shit.
I don't know how that shit works, but at the same time, I don't have like some $1 billion crazy super world military. Everybody's in on it except for us because we're the fucking terrorists and shit. I don't have that like level of knowledge. I don't know how to set up like companies and like fucking the Caribbean and stuff to write things off and shift things to different companies and stuff. And I don't know how any of that shit works, right? But that's the thing is like we're paying the bill, like we got the tab for them to surveil and spy on us. And Palantir is just one thing. They're part of the bigger joke. They're part of not the bigger picture, but they're part of the bigger joke that people like Sam Altman and Zuckerberg and I want to say Elon Musk, but I'm not sure what that guy is like, where he is on that fence and stuff. But at the same time, I don't care because we're all the ones holding the bag and we're all the ones being spied on and everything. That information that is out there on each and every one of you and each and every one of us that's your information. You're not getting paid for that. They are. So I mean, take that as for what it is. Do you feel represented in all of this? Do you feel more secure?
Before we wrap this up, since we only have 12 days left before the FISA thing's voted on, No Mercy had mentioned a toolkit. If any one of you has a proclivity to reach out to your representative or senators, you can email me at ecstaticj@gmail.com and I can get you the scripts for both email and phone. And if you want to send some emails, the work's already done. All you have to do is fill in the blanks for your senator's name or representative's name and hit send, and or pick up the phone and make a call. You've got 12 days to do it. How do you want to live your life for the next 12 days? Do you want to make a difference or do you not want to? And this is open for anybody who's in the audience before or sees this video before April 30th. ecstaticj@gmail.com. Just drop me a note and I'll get you the information you need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jonathan. That's the greatest thing about all this is you have been an absolute godsend to us. Fighting for these things in Bend, Oregon, and for letting us know how we can be a part of the solution while the problem affects all of us. And that things when it comes to the FISA 702 and that's again www.n702.com. It's not wrong to want them to stop doing us wrong. Like who's doing right by us? And that's one of the questions. I've asked more questions than I think can be answered with all of this stuff. So I get it. This is kind of just their MO. This is what they do, but I absolutely don't agree with it. So we can tell Democrats no reauthorization without reform.
I just want to mention this website, end702.com, that's run by Fight for the Future, which is, we know and love, they're a good trusted organization. And it has this tool on there that it will help you figure out what you should say. And it'll also give you the phone numbers of who you need to talk to in your area. So if you want to get involved, but you don't know where to start, that's a really good one. They just kind of walk you through it. They're just like, click that button, click here, say this. You know what I mean? And it's the easiest and most basic way that you can get involved and make your voice heard. So that's another really good alternative there. So it literally, this stuff takes just a couple of minutes. And it's so sad that how often we lose our liberties and our rights just because people don't know how to or aren't willing to put in those few minutes. You know what I mean? And like, in less time than it takes you to like go get yourself a drink of water, you can make your voice heard and let the government know that you don't want this stuff. And if enough of us do this, it actually makes a difference and we can stop it.
And we can stop it. And that's the thing. It's like, especially running like zero trust architecture, we don't have access to look in and spy on anybody. And it's one of those things that I don't think anybody should have access to look in and spy on anybody. there are other means in which you may secure everything, right? There are means in which you can protect people. I don't know what that is. That's not my job, but my job is information security. And when it comes down to information security, I highly believe that these things that will do more bad than good. And we have to have a voice, have a voice and be anonymous. Show up here like No Mercy did. You don't need a picture. You don't need any special technology. Um, uh, you don't need anything. Just literally just hop on and just talk. And that's the thing is these things are less talked about, and even if they're talked about and people hear them, not so many people care enough to fully understand the weight of what's sitting on their shoulders, and not just their shoulders, their chest, right? So we need some breathing room with all this, and it starts with privacy, I think. And that I could be wrong, but I think I'm right.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of times, like it's easy to sit back and blame our government and say like they're not doing what we want. But the fact of the matter is, like, if we don't make it clear what we want, how could they? They're not mind readers. You know what I mean? So we have a representative government. So we always sit back and we're like, hey, they're not representing our wishes. But like, it's a two-way street. Like, there's two parties involved. They're supposed to represent our wishes, but we're supposed to make sure that they know what our wishes are, and most Americans aren't doing that effectively. Most Americans, at most, they post a meme and they're like, okay, yeah, I did my part. Like, people literally think this. They'll post a meme about something they disagree with, and they feel like they have helped because they're helping spread awareness. But like, that really doesn't do it. Like, that doesn't do a whole lot other than get you some fake internet points. But in the time it took you to post that meme, you could have sent an email to Jonathan and figured out what to actually do. You could have gone to N702. You could have called the lawmakers and let them know. Like, it doesn't take a huge investment of time. The problem is, like, people are directing their energy in the wrong ways. Like, as fun as it is to talk shit on the internet about your government, it's really not doing a whole lot if it's just going onto news feeds on social media mixed in with hundreds of millions of other people talking shit about their government.
If the politicians don't have time to read the 300 bills, they definitely don't have time to look at your social media feed.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's like people, they'll even like tag their lawmakers. They're like, well, I let them know. I'm like, do you really think they're going through every one of their notifications every day? Like, yeah, no, it's not happening. They have channels set up specifically for this. Like, they legally have to. They have to like take your phone call. They have to check your emails. There's things that they are forced to, literally by law, and it's not to check your news feed on social media. I promise you.
Yep. And this is the truth. It is the truth indeed. And that's the thing is we all seek the truth together. Let's go ahead and close this out, guys. Let's go ahead and go about our days and everything. But I think the bigger picture is becoming more clear for all of us in which we create these innovations. And thank you so much for the toolkit, No Mercy. And you've brought some good perspectives to me, and I really appreciate it. I just want to say thank you, and you're very much valued and appreciated. That's one of the things is that we need this voice. We have to have this. And whether people agree with us or not, it's their opinion, right? Their judgment. And I think people need the critical thinking in which we offer, and people like No Mercy offer, Susie and Nathan and Mr. Miller and Shalone here. We all have a job to do in this life, and I think fighting for the things that actually matter, which is our atmosphere, our vibe, and everything like that, and having some level of privacy in which we can enjoy life, however we want to enjoy it in the best way possible. I believe in a better world. I know all of you do as well. Let's go ahead and close this out. Anybody have any closing statements or anything?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Diversity of opinion is really what this is all about. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Always. Everyone's welcome.
Absolutely.
Love having the different opinions here.
And diversity of opinion is a good thing. Diversity of opinion is a good thing. We are all one people of the world. And I think I honestly do believe in a better world because I see things that are making it better. And then if we look too much into the things that make it worse and stuff, it can send us down the wrong path. And I think love and light and staying positive with all this stuff is the answer, especially when we're on the front lines and we live this life. Like I said, this ain't a job to us. It's a lifestyle. We live this shit. And we live it in a positive way. I think is the greatest part of it. But without anything left to say, I think the only thing left to say is onward.
We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak. We stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak. Digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak. Privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak. What you wanna share is only your choice. Hide and speak.
The early internet was the wild, wild west. Strange. Free. We explored, we broke things. And yes, we failed. No rules. And that was beautiful. But times have changed. We hesitate. We censor ourselves because we know they're watching. Surveillance kills curiosity, turning the internet from a frontier of hope into a cage of silence. And your VPN? It's based on trust. For let's be real, nobody has ever lied to me, said nobody ever. Yet true privacy is still within reach. vp.net doesn't rely on trust, it runs on real-time proof. Because privacy is about becoming your truest self when no one's watching. So you can be the best you when they are. Otherwise be an NPC, a digital product, and lose. vp.net, don't trust, verify.